is Motorsport Radio. Join the conversation and have your say on motorsport-radio.com. Motorsport Radio. The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Hello and welcome to Motorsport Radio. My name is Lester. This is the Superbike Show and we are live right now. Yes, we're back. And tonight's show is totally live. If you don't believe us, you can get in touch with us. We're talking everything bikes, basically. Big update on MotoGP, Moto2, Moto3, the latest rumours and goings on and moving and shaking of teams and riders and rumours and such. Also, all the latest from BSB and the support classes. Plus, there's the small matter of the Resurgence World Superbike Championship kicking off this weekend. At least in Britain, anyway. I say kicking off because I think it will, and we'll tell you why a little later on the show. So loads of news to get through tonight. You can get in touch with us as we are live, very much so. Tonight on the show, it's at M-Sport Radio on the old Twitters. It's Motorsport Radio on Facebook, or you can just leave your comments in the comments box below. My name is Lester. Thank you very much for tuning in and choosing Motorsport Radio as your finest live streaming destination tonight. And if you haven't, then I guess you're not even tuned in there. So anyway, that doesn't matter. Anyway, on tonight's show, please welcome the man who he thinks it's all about, Kiko Giles. Hello, good evening, Kiko. Kiko's not turned his microphone on. It's going to be a fantastic start. Hey, started already. Jesus.
Every time. I'm sorry. Welcome back. We are back. Haircuts are just as bad as they were before. We have been so busy for the last 3 weeks doing things. I've been really ill, and you're probably like...
Oh, yeah. In case you don't believe Kiko's been really ill. Just want to say that.
No, I really have. And I'm struggling to really talk for a long distance of time, so... So Lester might have to cut me off more than normal. On tonight's show, lots of fun and trivial conversation to come up. You can join it, of course. Let us know your thoughts in the comments area below.
You literally didn't just hear what I said, did you? Because I just literally said that.
Yeah.
Wasn't paying attention.
Because you actually cut out, and so I was like looking at you like that for. It just went really high pitch as if you was on like helium or something. So I couldn't understand what you were on about.
Always ill.
So, yeah, anyway, we're going to be talking Adventure Grand Prix, what happened there, and all the drama that unfolded in all of the classes there. We're going to be talking about the Stetson test. We're going to be talking for BSB. We're going to be talking World Superbikes and the build-up to Donington Park. Of course, that is this weekend. But if you have any questions for us, let us know. Tweet us at M-Sport Radio, at MotoGP Kiko, at Lester Forbes, or you can write below in the comments area if you want one of us. Please try and be nice. To me anyway, and direct all of your horrible questions and criticisms to the director of Motorsport Media, and that is
Thank you.
young Lester Forbes to the left-hand side here.
But that's not all, Kiko, because also on tonight's show, somehow, as well as cramming in all that stuff that you've just mentioned, we've also got big interviews from Mr. Brad Jones as well. He's going to be on the show. Plus, Mission Racing team owner Russ Owen. He'll be on the show a little later. And if that wasn't enough for you, Gino Rea and Ben Luxton of OMG Racing UK. They will both be on tonight's show. And if you're not aware, you should be. But if you're not, Gino will be racing this weekend at Donington in the old World Superbike Championship. And we have news. I'm happy to say that we have news about some commentating shuffles that have been going on in the world of commentary as we are commentating nerds, I suppose. It's something that we...
Critiques.
Commentators.
We're
commentators on commentating, I suppose.
Yes.
And it's something that I know a lot of people listening also like to pay attention to / slag off. Who's their favourite? Yes, we all do it. We all do it.
We do.
So anyway, we've got a little bit of news coming up about commentary later on. And for once, it doesn't actually involve us.
No. It doesn't.
No.
It involves
I don't know.
former members, people who have come off the Motorsport Media production.
Well, actually,
line.
there is a very strong link to the show and Motorsport Radio and Motorsport Media. But that's all I'm saying. So anyway, well, more news about that. Moving on to the actual news, though, because there's been a lot happening, and especially in BSB. If you might have already been aware. Now, a lot of people have heard the terrible accident that happened with Shane Byrne at testing at Snetterton last week. He was involved in a terrible accident, and he was taken to hospital, and he was feared to have some very serious injuries. And Kiko, what's the latest?
Latest is Shaky is, as okay as it can be after one of them accidents. He's still in hospital. His wife Petra's there by his side. I think I'm right in thinking he has broken all but 2 of his ribs, as well as a neck break. He has also had a successful spinal operation. So things going better for Shaky now. It was a bit of a worrying couple of days, really. When he was first admitted to hospital, we didn't really know much about what was going on. There was very little updates as far as medical updates.
Which was very worrying
anyway.
for all.
Exactly. A lot of people were wanting to know what's going on. But luckily, for now, anyway, Shaky seems to be out of any immediate danger, and as does his spine. So hopefully, fingers crossed, and I speak on behalf of everyone saying this, and everyone in British Superbikes who watches it, follows it, works in it, does anything to do with it, sponsors it, or teams, they will all want you, Shaky, to come back with a huge result. Biggest fight yet coming up, so hopefully Shaky will be back very, very soon, back to his best as well.
Yeah, we decided it's not time to talk about anything else other than just to say just get well soon, and we wish the Byrne family all the very best, and we're sending all our love and support to them at this time. So that's all we're going to talk about in relation to Shane and his ride anyway. Also there has been some other news as well, some other injuries, not in BSB though, but on the world stage. Kiko?
Yeah, Catalunya MotoGP private testing, so only a select few teams went. I think all but Repsol, Honda and another team, maybe Aspar, they all went to Catalunya, obviously trying out the new layout of the track, and there has been a serious accident with Tito Rabat, crashed at the final corner, front end tucked under him. He barrel rolled through the gravel, his bike cartwheeled through the gravel, set itself on fire, red flag, obviously stoppages and whatnot. Tito was taken to hospital, no fractures to her left arm, but some serious ligament damage. He's in a cast at the moment. And of course, we will bring you the latest on that as we get it. If you want to look back at the timeline of that and how that crash unfolded and as news trickled out, follow us at Motorsport Radio, at M Sport Radio. We brought updates to you yesterday. You can go back, look at them, and see how Tito's getting on. There's a photo of him. He's with the doctors, arm in cast. The Italian Grand Prix next week, and Tito's actually, until Le Mans, was in some great form. Le Mans, Mugello, with it being a week away, he wants to race. I have a very sneaky suspicion that he probably won't. And because of the nature of the incident, and it's not as serious as Shaky's, I think we can speculate a little bit more on this one. If Tito doesn't race, maybe the likes of Xavi Forés would get a run out on that bike. He's had it before, of course, and Catalunya is a Spanish rider at a Spanish track, and he's relatively familiar with a Vinci racing bike and machine as well. So maybe we may well be seeing a replacement rider in MotoGP before the midway point of this season. Quite remarkable, really. Let
us know your thoughts if you've got any opinions. If he turns out that he won't be riding in the future rounds anyway, if it might just be for one round, or he might just try and do a Rossi and sort of try it, come back and almost get a podium, and then we'll forget that he was
even injured.
Yeah, amazing. But let us know anyway. Add your comments to the comments box wherever you're listening to this from. Also, other news, Kiko, as he takes a swig of fresh, non-burpy water.
Carbonated water, actually.
He's on a diet.
I am. 5 kilos shed off me. If you're
He's done well, I must admit.
If you're wondering what the new look is, I've trimmed down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Lester, what was that?
Yes. What other news have we got then?
We've got a bit of news, actually. Quite some controversial news coming out of MotoGP. No, it's not tax evasion. That's normal. The Mark VDS team, the Belgian outfit, run by multi-million billionaire Mark van der Straten, he has terminated the contract of Michael Bartolami. Now, Bartolami's been in the paddock for a number of years now. I've been in there a long, long time. This all came alight at Jerez. Bartolami was claiming to have a stake in the team as like an ownership kind of managerial position. Van der Straten said, "Well, you don't, because I'm the name of the machine. I'm the name on the bikes. I'm the name of Mark. I am Mark VDS, literally. You don't own anything." And it's kind of come to blows at the French Grand Prix, which you could argue to a certain degree is the team's local round. They don't go to Belgium anymore, so France is really as near as they get to home. Michael Bartolami was off out of Mark VDS, so manager vacancy up for grabs in that team at the moment. So after that, it was a very, very strange. It all came to light in Jerez, and it's kind of come to blows at Le Mans. It'd be very interesting to see who gets that managerial position, whether it's someone in the paddock or someone that Mark knows himself personally. But either way, not looking good for the Mark VDS team, although they have said they will be committed to the championship for the next 3 years anyway.
Interesting stuff. And, shall we invite people's comments on that one, maybe?
Yeah, let us know, because we've seen this before with some teams taking a bit of flack. Let us know your thoughts on that. If you can cast your minds back to 2015, the Ford Racing outfit. Giovanni Cazzari was wrongly accused of tax evasion, won his case in court. That was quite a controversial point in the paddock as well. So let us know what is going on, what you think should happen with Mark VDS. Should stress this isn't really a tax issue. We're just saying that there has been controversies with teams before. This is more of a human resources issue, if you like. Let us know your thoughts. Join us, join the conversation below. Let us know your thoughts. We'll try and read as many out as we can as I check to see if we have anyone tuning in.
Exactly, and so Kiko, whilst Kiko does that energetically, I will browse through what else has been happening as well. French Grand Prix, apparently there's been some murmurings about or something that it's due to stay, or it has signed, or so. What's going on?
Strange one, must admit.
Is it another Circuit of Wales type thing?
No, it isn't one. It isn't one of them, and I'll tell you why. Le Mans, I'd argue, is a track fit for purpose at the moment. It's a bit on the sketchy side in some areas. The area of Le Mans isn't a very nice area, let's be honest, but it is France.
Wow.
So, and the facilities are a little bit poor around the circuit, not so much in the circuit, and in general, the track itself isn't very, very popular at all. It's not one of them circuits where people really look forward to going, especially if you're Scott Redding. He's not finished for the last 4 French Grand Prix, just thought I'd throw that one in there. But no, so you will be aware the French Grand Prix is on the calendar, I think, till 2026 now, which means that we'll be going to France until 2026. The question is, at what circuit? Because the press release that Dorna put out did not specify Le Mans, and it did not specify Le Castellet circuit, or Paul Ricard, as you might know it. It hasn't specified them two, hasn't specified Magicourt, and the promoters of the track that do a fantastic job year in, year out. 105,000 people were trackside on Sunday. In 2008, 100,000 people were there across all 3 days. So it just shows how well the promoters are able to promote the French Grand Prix. But
you just said it was a crap hole.
No. They can't help the way the circuit is, but the way the organisers and the promoting of the circuit, the stunt events that are on at night, it's a real atmosphere, it's a real party. Just the town of Le Mans is a terrible area. It's kind of like Glossop
Thank you.
But we'll never get into the politics of the North. Anyway, like it. We could see the French Grand Prix move. I'm always sceptical of these kind of things. A bit of intrigue in me, a bit of devil's advocate. I always wonder, why did they not specify? Why did they not say it was going to be at Le Mans? And I just think maybe we're off somewhere else, down to the south of France, and Paul Ricard or lovely Magny-Cours, which has got more hairpins than any other circuit in the world besides COTA, I think. So
it is an actual hairpin.
It's what, Magny-Cours?
Yeah, it's just an actual hairpin.
Yeah, it may as well be. Well, the most annoying thing is the actual fast part's quite good. It's just, yeah, I don't know. They last used Magny-Cours, I think, in 1992. They last used.
Remember it well.
I think Wayne Rainey won that, and I think they last used Paul Ricard in '99. I think Biaggi and Doohan and Crivier were the winners. Crivier was the winner of that one.
Rings a bell.
So, of course, just to throw a bit of French history into all of this.
No.
Le Mans came onto the calendar in 1969. It has been used for the French Grand Prix, but it has also been on the calendar under a different name, and that was the Vitesse du Mans, which was basically, in 1991, 2 Grand Prix were cancelled. The Yugoslav one, because of the war breaking out in Yugoslavia, which led to the dissolution of the country. So they moved that round from Rijeka, which is now what we know as Croatia. They moved that to Jarama. And then they had another circuit planned. It was the Interlagos track, which for Formula One fans will know, it's the Brazilian Grand Prix, the home of the Brazilian Grand Prix. They meant to use that, but on safety grounds decided not to, so they went to Le Mans. So they had Paul Ricard and Le Mans in 1991 is the only year where they've ever had 2 French Grand Prix. Pointless knowledge there, but if you're interested...
Well, yeah, I was asleep by the end of that. Well done. Congratulations.
Couldn't say.
I kid. Anyway, French Grand Prix has been announced somewhere in France, presumably in that general area. Personally, I think it might have just been awarded to a generic French company, and they might have done a Circuit of Wales type thing where they've tendered it out
the promoters have stayed the same. The promoters have stayed the same. So I think it's the 25th anniversary of the promoters being the same. So reward that with a...
Doesn't necessarily... I mean, it used to always be the case, and in about 97% of the world, the promoters of an event, well, maybe less than that, actually. It always used to be the case that the promoters of an event were heavily attached to, or were themselves, the actual race circuits, or the clubs involved with the race circuits. And that doesn't seem to be the case anymore.
I don't know. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Look at the British Grand Prix promoters.
Yeah.
Didn't know what track they were going to for the last 3 years. No doubt this Circuit Wales thing will never happen, but Donington Park, they want it back.
Could well be. Yeah, could well be the solution to whatever problem you perceive that there might be.
We'll open the debate up anyway. Excuse me one moment.
He is dying.
I really am. We'll open the debate up anyway while we're on about tracks and whatnot. We haven't actually planned this into the schedule for tonight. Leicester's crying right now. But we're going to ask, and it's been a bone of contention now since I'd say 2010, when MotoGP upped its Spanish rounds to 4. Now, for me, that's a tad too many. So if you like me, not if you like me, if you are like me, and
nobody likes you and nobody is like you,
and you think there is too many Spanish rounds.
How many is too many, though?
Well, 4 is a bit of a joke, surely.
Is it?
I'd say so.
Don't know. Let's ask Sammy Spanish over here. What does he think?
Does Hernandez think? Yeah. We'll open the debate up. Which one would you drop? So you've got Jerez, which is the Spanish Grand Prix. Don't think you could drop that one, really. You've got Catalunya, Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. Don't think you could really drop that one either, although safety's a bit of an issue, and we'll see how that goes in 3 weeks' time. But yeah, the Catalunya, that is Dorna's home, don't forget. Dorna are based in Barcelona. You've got Aragon, which is a really exciting track, but the most poorly attended of the Spanish rounds. Or you've got Valencia, which is a terrible circuit, but offers... but offers great viewing for all the fans. It's always a sellout. So by terrible circuit, I mean it's...
No, but what I meant, folks, by terrible circuit was... no, it's just the villagers around the circuit that I hate the most. No, that's what I really meant. Should we just stop insulting...
the French and the Spanish?
Please, thank you, because...
But no, let us know your thoughts on that. Join the conversation as always. And what Spanish round would you take off? For me, it's Aragon, most poorly attended round, and also 4. It was the last one in. It should be the first one.
How's about, since you were mentioning earlier that some rounds, and Formula 1 used to do this as well previously, where a round used to be called something else in a different country. So you get a European Grand Prix, for example, and it used to be wherever in Germany or something. We could have another British round in Spain.
Well, not really.
Well, yeah, think about how many Brits go to Spain. It's a perfect excuse to go on holiday to Spain.
Okay, we could have the Lithuanian Grand Prix at Donington Park.
Oh, wow. I just mentioned something sensible, and you just like, oh, well, let's just have the Jamaican Grand Prix in Scotland then.
It's the exact same logic. Just because loads of people will go there and live there.
Yeah, just because it's very popular, it doesn't mean that you have to have more of it.
No, what I'm saying...
MotoGP is the most popular in Spain. That's why they've got 4 rounds. Yes. It is Spanish. The championship is based in Spain.
And it's got Spanish riders in it that are dominating it in all 3 classes. Yes, I get that. But still, 4 is a tad too many, especially when you've got tracks like Kyalami. You've got the new Indonesian round coming on in 2 years. Finland joins us next year. What I'm trying to say is there's going to be a point in the MotoGP championship in the next probably 3 or 4 years when we're going to get 22 rounds if we don't drop a round. And the teams don't want to go to 22 rounds. It's way too many for them. They've said that many, many times. So surely you'd have to drop a Spanish round. You can't drop the historic rounds, Germany, even though attendance was down 50,000 last year.
If it's not bringing in the money, get it out.
It is bringing in the money. You can't drop that. You can't drop Assen.
Wait a minute. Who says you can't? Just because they've been around for a bit. Who says you can't drop? That's an iconic. That's you just can't.
You're the kind of person who'd get rid of Monaco then.
Does good racing happen? Well, I'm not. Okay, you're going to extremes of everything that I'm saying.
No, I'm not. I'm literally saying the exact same thing. Either way,
anyway.
4 Spanish rounds is too much. You can't lose a round that only a country that only has 1 round.
Who says? Where's the rules?
Oh, it's just the way I look at it. You can't drop an Italian round because there's one that's classed under San Marino, although it's in Misano, which is Italy, and you've got the other one that's at Mugello. You can't drop those 2 because one of them...
I remember the same exact arguments happening in Formula 1 as well. You can't drop the Belgian Grand Prix. That's unheard of. Belgian Grand Prix dropped. Oh, okay. And then it happened. So, yeah, you can actually drop these classic tracks.
You can, but at the end of the day, people say, oh, yeah, but they don't provide good racing anymore. No, but it's those tracks that made the championship what it is today anyway.
Anyway, let us know your thoughts.
We've got the rest of the news anyway.
Yeah, we've got tons of stuff to be getting on with. Let's not be getting hung up on where Kiko thinks he should be buying the best black pudding. That's probably where he'd plot his next MotoGP venture. So other news, by the way, folks. There is other news. Talking about, in particular, have we mentioned Alex Rins?
We haven't mentioned any of the signings, so let's quickly run through them quickly. That would be useful, wouldn't it? Let's move on. So we've got lots of new signings since we last did the show, which was about 3 years ago. Pol Espargaro has signed with KTM to remain in the Red Bull KTM factory outfit alongside Johann Zarco. So if you've been on another universe, planet, whatever, that's the latest there. Andrea Dovizioso has signed for Ducati, and so far he's the only rider signed with Ducati. We'll come on to the rumour mill surrounding that second seat later on. Aleix Spargo has signed at Aprilia for 2 more years. So far, again, the only one. Will Scott Redding signed, very touch and go at the moment, hasn't had a top 10 in 7 races, so possibly not, I'd argue that, but it is his first year on the Aprilia. He's still learning, of course. Miguel Oliveira will move up, so he's another quick rookie, going to be in MotoGP next year. We've had something like 9 rookies in the last 2 years, if you take it into account the 2 that have dropped out, which is Folger and Sam Lowes. You've got a net rookie improvement of 7, so 7 riders coming in every 2 years. That's a lot of riders coming in. We're turning over quite a few now. But Miguel Oliveira going to be the first Portuguese rider in MotoGP really with any chance of success. I think we had Miguel Pryor a few years ago, but that doesn't really matter. Alex Rins, as you correctly said, Leicester, is on Suzuki machinery again.
He might have dedicated his entire life to making his career a success. And then he's like, it doesn't really matter, it's a joke.
Well, that's only what people will say about me. I'll fail in a minute anyway. So, Alex Rins will be at Suzuki until 2020. And again, later on, we will talk about that second seat. Who is that going to go to? I mean, let's have a little conversation about it now. You've got Jorge Lorenzo. We reported here on Motorsport Radio it was 90% done. We've got Ian One, who's starting to ride well. He's doing a great job now, apart from crashing the 5 corners into the French Grand Prix. You've got Joan Mir has been rumoured to have that seat. And if you've got to wonder as well, if someone else takes that second Ducati seat, like Jack Miller, well, Danilo Petrucci's already out at Pramac Ducati. So is he in the running for that Suzuki seat? That Suzuki seat's going to decide a lot of places in the championship for the next couple of years. We won't say what.
It's just one seat.
It is, but it's amazing. Yamaha sign riders, and suddenly everyone else has to start signing. That they were the ones who triggered it at the start of the year. We will come on to something that is a very, very interesting, and I personally can't say it, about Jorge Lorenzo and next year's plans for him. Unbelievable. I can't believe I'm reading it. 2 top-notch journos in the MotoGP paddock saying this. We'll come on to it later. We'll tease you a bit now. It's about Jorge Lorenzo's 2019 plans or not.
Yeah, I guess that, by the way you were saying. Anyway, but yeah, tell us more later. Ooh, who will it be? What will happen? I don't know. Anyway, so have we done all the latest rumours and such in MotoGP?
We've kind of done MotoGP,
so,
but
yes.
there's just one...
Moto2.
Well, there's 1 or 2 bits of things just to come out. If you like reading, like me and Lester, absolute reading enthusiasts, if I just turn it about... Oh, no, I won't, because that's not... No, we'll leave that bit.
Kiko has books.
Yeah, a huge wall of books, collector's editions, actually, as well. And I like Matt Oxley, one of my favourite MotoGP journos anyway. Love reading his books. He's got a new book coming out next week. Apparently it's going to be announced at Mugello. We don't know what it is, but if you want to know more, look on his Twitter. Yeah, probably. So yeah, look at his Twitter. I think there's no more copies of Zen coming out, which was his last book. And before that, it was Stealing Speed, which is a fantastic book, but you're going to pay top-notch prices for it. So maybe find yourself wandering off to Newark Showground next year, because I know Julian Ryder will probably be there, and he'll have some, I would have thought. So anyway, Matt Oxley's got a new book coming out, so for all us MotoGP enthusiasts, that's great news. And also, in Moto2, I thought we had a bit of fake news going on, really, when I saw this. I couldn't believe MV Augusta are coming back into it. MV Augusta, that is decades. That's before even I started watching MotoGP. Like, when I started watching it back from the 90s.
Okay.
Unbelievable. They're going to be... I assume they'd be chassis manufacturers for forward racing. Unbelievable. Proper bit of Italian heritage. Of course, it being Italian, it'll break down at some point, but in the grander scheme of things, great to have him back. When's Kajiva coming back? That's what I want to know.
Talking about books, by the way, I hear Mr. Ray, Jonathan Ray, is bringing out a book as well.
Yes, of course. Jonathan Ray. Can't remember the name of it. It's something... Is it Dream It, Believe in It, Achieve It, or something like that? It's something similar. That's coming out in autumn. You can pre-order that for the current triple champion. Don't put it past him becoming a 4-time champion. Johnny Ray's putting a book out. Who would have thought it?
Well, me.
Do you know what? I generally didn't. I didn't think we'd ever see another World Superbike book ever.
Okay.
But we're not going to get in a World Superbike rant tonight.
Not until probably in about half an hour from now, until Kiko gets on a Superbike rant, World Superbike rant. He gets full of sugar, and he's like, I'll tell you what.
Sugars, 0 grams. Everyone, you can see that if you're tuned in watching.
Other colas are available, I should add, but generally water is the best thing to stop making
Quick story about Coca-Cola, the name. When the guy who made this, he was called Brad. He called it Brad's Drink. Obviously, it didn't catch on, so he rebranded it Coca-Cola. Susie Dent's talking out on her Origins of Words on Countdown.
Well done to the one person still listening in. This is the Superbike Show. It's Motorsport Radio, and yes, we're talking at the moment a lot of rubbish. Anyway, so yes, also some other news, books, libraries aside.
Yes. One
top talent for the future, who I'm sure you already know about, Ryan Vickers, has been given an amazing chance. He's well, you explain, Kiko, what's going on?
Ryan Vickers has been sensational, nothing short of sensational, since the end of last year, really. Since Snetterton last year, really, he's been right up the sharp end in the Stock 600. Won the last race of this year, last race of last year, and has won 3 races so far this year. He's won the last 4 National Super Stock 600 races, and Simon Buckmaster, team manager for CIA Landlord Insurance Honda, in the World Supersport Championship, has given Ryan Vickers the opportunity of an absolute lifetime. He's going to be wildcarding in the World Supersports this weekend. Brings back memories of when Kyle Ryder did the wildcard at Donington Park 2-3 years ago. Really good to see young British talent getting an opportunity on British tracks, on good machinery. Tell you, it will not be the last you see of Ryan Vickers on the world stage anyway. He's destined for it.
And it won't be the last that you see of Ryan Vickers, because I'm sure he'll be on Motorsport Radio once again.
Probably you can check out the latest interview, of course.
Yes, you can do. Head to motorsport.radio if you're not already there. And he's right there on the front page at the moment. Ryan Vickers, a chat that Kiko had with him at Alton Park at the last round of BSB. And talking of BSB, rather British Super Sport, there was some movements, let's say. There was a couple of exits.
Yes.
A Frexit for Joe Francis.
Yeah, Joe Francis left. This is old news now, really, but
in case you didn't know,
he has left the Qingdao Racing MV Augusta team. That happened after a day at Alton Park. We have got an interview with him. We can't play it yet. We're just waiting confirmation on that, all getting clarified and whatnot. But yeah, Joe Francis
he
so
doesn't
far
really say much, to be honest. He just says he leaves, and he wasn't doing as well as he thought he'd do, and that's why he left.
Joe Francis is looking to go off to do the Asian series and stuff like that. He was out, I think, in Australia to ride a Yamaha out there. So yeah, Joe Francis obviously got plans, but they don't at the moment consist of a British Supersport ride. Should just mention a couple or another thing that's happened whilst we've been away, and that is that Imola, against unbelievable odds, has managed to get back on the World Superbike calendar until 2020. Now, the reason I say unbelievable odds,
because you hate them.
No, I love Imola as a track, but it's just, I thought it's getting to the stage where it's a little bit dangerous.
Yeah, I think you went on a big rant about it last year, and you was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it's so dangerous," or something.
I probably did, but
you definitely did. I remember it well.
Oh dear, you can dig that clip out next week then. But no, Imola back on the track. To be fair, I love Imola and I love that danger aspect, but for the modern machine,
well, it's going to be even more dangerous on classic machines, isn't it?
Not really.
Well,
nah.
Probably is. Anyway.
No.
So yeah, you've got reservations about Imola.
I have. But they're doing their best. That's all I can say. There has been no major accidents at Imola for a while, but it's just virgin. For me, it's a bit like...
Well, motorsport is dangerous, I mean...
It is. There's a big yellow triangle on most fences. For me...
And you love the Northwest 200.
I don't... Oh,
so you can't slag off Imola.
We're coming on to that. Like, yeah, hang on a minute. Johnny Ray ain't racing the Northwest 200, though, is he? What I'm trying to get is that the walls and the fences are just a little bit closer in Imola. It's just
They're even closer in the Northwest.
They are, yeah.
If you have an off there, you're going to end up in a paper shop or in someone's living room. But
or on the Atlantic.
Yeah, or there. But yeah, I get your point, certainly. And if you agree or disagree, more importantly, if you disagree, don't keep it held in. It's bad for you.
While we're on about Imola, and I do not want to sound controversial here.
Go on.
Mugello is a little bit similar. It's the front straight, and it's not me saying this. It's a bit of a kind of a suppressed topic. David Emmett spoke about this a few weeks ago. Motor Matters. The Imola, Mugello, the speeds they are reaching now on the modern bikes are just a bit high. That sounds silly, but there is only so much a bike can develop before a track cannot cope. And I feel that soon, not in the next 2 or 3 years, but maybe 5, 6 years from now, Mugello will either have to make very, very big improvements or go. A bit like Vallelunga. It's very... It's just on the edge for me. I mean, everything about Mugello is fine until that front straight.
I mean, you can sanitize every circuit in the world until it's Qatar, and then you've just got massively sanitized circuits, and then you're complaining about the lack of character.
Atmosphere, yeah, I know. But if we're looking at it from a safety point of view...
But let's not look at it from a safety point of view.
Just a little bit, I don't know.
Well, if you're looking at everything from a safety point of view, you know, sitting on a rocket with wheels, flying around a circuit, hurtling towards a wall, can be a bit dangerous.
Can.
So, like, you know, you don't have to look at everything from a... I mean, who made you safety inspector anyway? Jesus.
Actually, amongst them books, is it here?
No. We've got other news to talk about.
Hang on, I have the FIM. I don't think I have it near me, thankfully. It might be in here.
Kiko's rooting through his drawers, looking for the rules and regulations of...
I don't have the FIM. I do have it, but I don't have it on me.
Good.
But I have the FIM grading criteria for all the circuits.
Right. Is it similar to the FIA grading criteria?
Possibly. Apart from, am I right in thinking the FIA use numbers and not letters?
They use grade A and, yeah.
Okay, well, we do as well. Real sports do that as well. Anyway, I just thought I'd treat you here. Listen, look at this. If you can see, if you can't...
Because it's radio, of course.
Because, of course, if you're listening back to this on the Downloadable podcast, get the key words out there, you won't be able to see this. But I found this absolute diamond at my dad's. Marlborough British Grand Prix FIM World Championship for motorcycles.
Let's see you then.
Silverstone, Sunday, July the 31st. Official programme, £1.20. 1983. And look at the condition of that. It's absolute mint.
It's decent condition, I'd say, but until you handled it.
I love it. I'm looking through some of the adverts. Look at the advert on the back of that list.
Thank you. Anyway, right. So put that down. Moving on. We've got a big show tonight.
We have.
All right. So, one other bit of news before we get into the reviewing the French Grand Prix. By the way, some commentary news as well. We'd like to bring you up to date.
This is yours. This is all yours.
The latest goings on and on the world stage. What?
Don't do it.
Well.
It's all yours. It's all yours.
You may know if, or you may not. I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, he was announced recently as being the lead commentator for Dorna on the World Superbike Championship. Now, this is something that TV viewers here in the UK probably won't get to hear because we'll be treated to the normal way that we consume Superbike.
Eurosport via Greg Haynes and
their brilliant job. But if you're everywhere else in the world, watching or listening on the world feed, for example, you will be hearing co-founder of Motorsport Radio and Motorsport Media and original presenter of this very show, Tom Brooks, who is now the Dorna World Superbike lead commentator. So yes, congratulations to Tom, and sort of knew it wouldn't take too long for him to get to the top there.
So another one off the Motorsport Media production line.
Yeah, they're just it's like a conveyor belt of talent which has suddenly stopped.
Honest. Excuse me.
But yeah, no, for those who do know, yes. Many others don't, but Motorsport Radio was founded in October 2016 with myself and Tom, and Tom had a fantastic opportunity to go and work for Dorna over in the MotoGP department, and he did that, and he's gone from strength to strength, commentating on the CEV Championship, and I don't know if he's still commentating on the British Talent Cup as well. Maybe he is. He was anyway. But he's also now the top man doing the top job, and probably soon to be one of the in contention, I would say, to be one of the world's hottest prospects in commentary as well, filling in or taking over from, well, you name it. Any person who's currently doing, not just in bikes as well, but in car racing. So yeah, massive congratulations from Motorsport Radio, the whole team, Motorsport Radio, and he will be at Donington this weekend commentating, as will many of the World Superbike riders as well, and as well Gino Rea. He's going to be racing with OMG Racing, and we'll be hearing from him very, very shortly, right here on the show. We caught up with him, with Ben Luxton. Thoughts on that, Kiko, if you have any at all?
Absolutely fantastic news, I must admit.
Absolutely fantastic.
I had to squeeze that one in. No, it's brilliant to see. And, of course, the Cool Fab paddock will remember Tom as well, because that's where he started. No, a couple of other people are starting now this year.
Yes, Dan Maher, also a commentator, and Kiko as well.
I'll set them up for you. You knock them down.
Yes, basically, and you can probably, if you ever tune into some Cool Fab commentary, you could probably hear some gems like this.
Ryan Grant has set 2 lap times in the 50.14 on. Just as I start saying that, he has dropped it on the floor. Ryan Grant.
Ryan Grant, poor sod. It's almost like you had
the track. It was Ollie Walker as well. 3 corners later.
Same track as well. And Kiko, there's a whole load of these things that he does, lining them up on the show. But that was the latest Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship round that Motorsport Radio covered. And Kiko and Dan Maher, and formerly Tom Brooks as well, who's now World Superbike commentator for Dorna. So just think on, kids. Yes. Anyway, moving on, because we've got
20 minutes behind our planned schedule here, Lester. This is going to be the quickest review of the French Grand Prix ever.
Go on then. Bikes happened and stuff. Someone won.
Marquez won again, dominating the championship. As I just stretched there, I'm not at the gym, don't worry. Marquez won.
I thought you were celebrating Marquez.
Yeah. 36-point lead in the championship now, looking insurmountable. Gotta say, Marquez.
It only takes one DNF.
After 5 rounds, though. If you can do that in 5 rounds, I tell you, that is a worrying figure.
Not really.
Especially if you look at the Spanish Grand Prix, the main championship contenders, Dovizioso and Pedrosa, arguably Valentino Rossi as well. Rossi was nowhere, Vinales as well, nowhere. Dovizioso, Pedrosa and Lorenzo all crashed. French Grand Prix comes along. Pedrosa, nowhere. Lorenzo, nowhere. Zarco crash, Iannone crash, Dovi crash, Rossi third. The inconsistency from everyone else is handing Marquez this championship. It's like no one else wants to win it. Rossi back on the podium, third place for him. Back on the pace, but only for now. Interesting to see how Yamaha adapt as they go to Mugello. Valentino and Maverick had strong races there last year. Be interesting to see if that can happen again. Tell you what, have a little flutter now. I'd be having a bit of money on Valentino at Mugello, I've got to say. First, if he wins it with the first time in 10 years, but Valentino, if he can, if they have turned the corner like Yamaha have said they have, Mugello will suit that. Mugello will be a great circuit for them. Petrucci is proving continuously why Ducati should employ him. Second, decent result on the bounce, of course. I think he was fourth at Jerez, second now at Le Mans, looking to go one better at his home race, of course, at which he was second at the year before. In 2017, he was second at Mugello. Cal Crutchlow fighting through the pain barrier to get to where he was. Qualified down in 13th place, I believe. Finished 8th with a huge high side in between both of them. So massive congratulations to Britain's Honey Badger. Iannone, what is he doing? Said this so many times when we was watching this race on the phone. Why? 5 corners into the entire Grand Prix and Andrea Iannone goes and drops it. He had the pace maybe to go with Marquez. I really mean that. I think Iannone could have been a spoiler in that race. If he had got the podium, like I think he would have at least got a podium, Andrea Iannone would have got Suzuki's 4th consecutive podium. Now that would have been the first time since what year? I'll let you know by the end of the show.
2008.
No, you're wrong.
Oh.
Let us know in the comments what year you think it was the last time Suzuki had 4 consecutive podiums. And of course we're going from Alex Rinzi's 3rd in Argentina to Iannone's 3rd in America, Iannone's 3rd in Jerez. Of course, there would have been something else after that had he got 3rd.
Now, what's happening with, there's been, I think maybe just from a British point of view anyway, we were all sort of willing him on, Scott Redding. What's going on? What's going on, Scott?
I don't know. Hasn't had a top 10 since Mazzano.
Am I right or wrong in thinking that he's better than that? Because I don't know anymore. I don't know.
You're right in thinking he's better than that.
I used to think that.
But is the bike better than that? I hate to say this, and it feels like we're on a national slagging off at the moment.
No way.
But it's run by Italians. And we've seen the way that Aprilia is run in the past. It doesn't seem to work with anyone at all.
Sure, yeah, you do need a good all-round package.
The way that team's run is very, besides Fausto Grassini, but Romano Albaziano is such a hot-headed character. And I just think there is something missing. For whatever reason, there is something preventing Aprilia. Aleix Espargaro got on that bike last year, finished 6th in his first race. It's not been replicated. It's not been bettered. Worrying times, because who's going to want to ride that?
It's sort of worrying as well for what Scott. I mean, if things magically improve, let's say they don't, what the hell does he do next? I mean, he's had a bad couple of years, hasn't he? It's not.
Yeah, this is the thing. If Scott manages to get back in the top 10, though, that will show more about Scott than it does about Aprilia. I don't want to slag Aprilia off, but if you look at all
if he was going to do that, wouldn't you have already done it? No, I mean, if he was going to...
5 races in, a bit early yet, I'd say, give until Assen, maybe. But, again, if you look through Aprilia's decisions through Grand Prix, since they came back in 2015, they brought Marco Melandri in. No, you don't drag someone kicking and screaming to a championship they do not want to be in because it's boring to them. 2016, they publicly slagged off Stefan Bradl and Alvaro Bautista. You don't do that. Those 2 riders are probably the 2 best development riders in that entire field. They got the Aprilia working well. So they got rid of Alvaro, they got rid of Stefan, bring in Alicia Spargo and Sam Lowes, and we all know that Sam Lowes never got on with it because Aprilia couldn't provide him the exact same bike. They were effectively giving a rookie a test rider's job. Alicia Spargo has had okay results, but it's been nothing spectacular. We're missing that one last thing from Aprilia.
But, I mean, Scott knows the history. He knows what's happened in the past. He knows all that stuff that you just said. Why race for them?
Needs a job.
If the warning signs
needs
are there.
a job.
But if it's...
He is not in a position to take a year out and wait for a ride to come up. He's not had that success. And that sounds bad and it sounds harsh, but he hasn't.
Well, no, that's just a fact, though, isn't it? It's
Max Biaggi had a year out, but got a good ride. But again, that was 10, 12 years ago. Them days of having a year out are gone.
Yeah.
The pace
can you afford, though?
Racing moves on now is way too quick. You cannot have years out. Passini getting a job back in Moto2 is a miracle for me. I cannot believe that happened.
Can you, for a career, I don't know, I'm not suggesting either way, but can you really afford to be having a couple of really bad years? I hope, I really do hope, because we all want to see Scott Redding do well, and actually...
You could ask a few riders that, though. Ask Jorge Lorenzo that, or ask Andrea Iannone that. Ask Maverick Vinales that. Danny Pedrosa.
Well, they're not British.
They're all having bad years, though. They've all had, the last 2 years have all been subpar.
I suppose in years gone by we could have maybe said the same or similar things about Cal in previous years, but this year he's coming good. He's having a really good year this year for most of the rounds anyway. But that's it, I suppose it's all different, and we'll just have to wait and see rather than just making a decision and deciding. I hope Scott stays in the Grand Prix paddock somewhere, and I don't think he'll have a problem doing so. Maybe he might be on course for the Suzuki job. I doubt. But there's a rumour. There's no substance to that rumour, but I've just created it now. Why not? First, the team has to like Scott and want Scott. And second of all, Scott needs to want the Suzuki team as well. But it could happen. There's a seat available. It could happen. So... Talking about the overall championship, then, you said that What's It's running away with it after 5 rounds. It's dead and buried. It's done. I just say anything could happen yet. It's way too early. And maybe it is just too early because, anything could yet happen.
36 points, though. The lead of this series at the moment, and there's no one who looks like a consistent challenge to Marquez.
Right now.
How long are we going to say that, though?
Till the next round.
Yeah, but then what if it's, Iannone was second and Marquez wins again? How many more rounds will it take until we establish a consistent running order?
I think it's probably important
to... Are we going to have a championship that we do not have a consistent running order?
Yes,
because there is that level of competition now. You know, you've got Cal Crutchlow on the LCR Honda, Satellite, never would have imagined a Satellite machine doing so well. Same with Zarco. Same with Petrucci, same with Miller, arguably. There's more riders now interfering for second, but none of them seem to be able to keep up with Marc Marquez to take the win.
It could all change on its head, though, Kiko. Most notably, 2016 and 2017.
Yes, it has before. Why are you reading that?
I don't know. I'm not reading it. I'm not reading it.
Yeah, 16, of course. Jorge Lorenzo had a flying start to the year, albeit not this dominant. But, of course, it turned on its head then. And last year, Maverick Vinales started well. Valentino Rossi started well. They went and blew it. Like that, just... But they haven't blown a 36-point lead. Nicky Hayden did it in 2006. I think Valentino Rossi came from 51 points down to lead by 8 going into the last round. But again, those days have gone now. You know, we are talking the absolute highest level we have ever seen in Grand Prix motorcycle racing. A bad result now is a third. Even in World Superbikes, it's the same. It's a third place is a bad result. It's not an 8th anymore. It's not a 5th. It's a third. Consistency. You've got to be hitting that podium so often.
I think you're being a bit hysterical. It's not all over. Anything could happen.
You make now a £20 bet with anyone who wants to take me
betting. Jesus, you've got a problem.
That Marc Marquez will win this championship before the end of the series.
It's not over till it's over.
It's looking very much like it is now.
It's only a few rounds in, Jesus.
There's 5 in, I know, and it takes one incident for Marquez and it all gets unravelled. But it takes one incident for Marquez if second, third or fourth capitalise on it. That's not guaranteed at this rate.
Maybe we'll have a last race showdown. Maybe a couple of riders will claw it back enough, and maybe Marquez will have a uncharacteristically bad thing, or he'll actually get penalised significantly during a race for being Marquez or something. Something will happen to make sure that going into the last round, 3 riders could be in mathematical contention for the title.
Yeah.
That would be good. Anyway, MotoGP.
Shall we do a little, just a couple of bits more?
Yeah, go on.
Jean Zarco's statistic now, until his crash at Le Mans, had only crashed out one race, and that was Qatar, his first race in the Premier
you
class.
love Zarco, don't you?
21 races he went without crashing. That is such a shame. And now, if he's still got one record going at the moment, Mugello, looking to get on the front row. If he does, it'll be the 10th time in consecutive races. I cannot believe I'm saying that statistic for a satellite Yamaha. Amazing. And then there's other news. Well, not really news. It's more just keeping up with the back of the pack. Tom Luthi and Xavier Simeon. I don't know. I just don't know. From 5 races, neither have scored points. Reckon their passports having a say in their rides?
I have no comment.
Swiss and Belgian. I don't know.
Anyway,
just feels like there's 2 seats there that could go to someone else a bit more competitive. We haven't had I ain't got the stat with me at the moment. I think it's 2000 was the last Belgian rider to score points. It could come, Mugello. It's one of them races, but it's not good, is it, really? Not good.
Anyway.
My thoughts.
There, Kiko Giles. Thoughts. This is Motorsport Radio. This is the Superbike Show. My name is Lester. Thank you very much for tuning in. And we're talking at the moment about MotoGP, the French Grand Prix, and we're going to get on to talk about Moto2 and Moto3 very, very shortly. Have we had any comments flood in at all? Anything at all?
Just give me one moment. You just keep waffling on.
That means probably no, to be honest. If you disagree with anything that Kiko has said tonight, and just because we might not be live when you're listening to this, then you can still add your comments in comments box below. Kiko.
We have a couple of comments. The first is from Lester Forbes, says, keep your face in shot.
Yes.
Sorry.
A couple of old directing notes behind the scenes, you see.
You didn't expect that one, did you? Second one is Vince Bailey, says Johnny Ray should be on the Suzuki. Do you know what? Vince, stay tuned, because we are talking about that a little bit later on. We're talking about Johnny Ray because his manager has been spotted in the MotoGP paddock. His manager has said teams are talking about Johnny Ray possibly on his way over to the Grand Prix paddock. And I am getting very excited about that. I need to calm down. But
yes, these bright young British prospects that could do really well on a motorcycle.
Johnny Ray, well, I don't say Johnny Ray's young. He's the wrong side of 30. Traditionally, I tell you, if he goes over, oh dear, oh dear.
I don't know.
So, bit of news now.
Go on.
I am in touch, not with the feminine side, for some pigs out.
Whoa, self-conscious.
No, it's normally followed up by something like that, isn't it? But I'm not. I'm in touch with a load of Northern Irish road racers over in Northern Ireland, funnily enough.
Amazing.
It's a disaster.
Hello, Internet. That'll be a meme. Go on. So you're in. Yeah. You. What have you found out? What do you know?
I can't name them because that would be indiscreet. But they have brought to my attention that actually the Coal Island circuit, the Lake Torrent circuit in Coal Island, doesn't look like it may go ahead. Apparently, the site is all closed up. So that's the new Northern Ireland circuit we're talking about, which is built more or less off the back of Johnny Ray's success. Big regeneration project in Lake Torrent, jobs created. I think it's 700 jobs being created directly, 2,400 indirectly. We have got a huge project here, and at the moment, allegedly, the site is closed. We do not know if that is confirmed. That is only what we can say via social media, effectively. We will dig into that and bring you an update on that when we can get it. But this big regeneration project involving the building and the construction of a circuit in the former clay pits in Lake Torrent at Coal Island, currently rumoured to be not on the cards, which is a major issue because World Superbikes, I believe, were scheduled in to go there next year.
It is just a rumour, though, and Kiko hasn't officially journalisted and verified that rumour. But yeah, would it be a shame if that doesn't happen? Probably, because it would be a good thing, and it would be the only government-built motorsport circuit ever in the UK, I think.
That's a very good point, that. Although, Silverstone. Because originally that was airfields, and I would have assumed that back in the times of communism, we would have had that as a government-built thing.
Well, the airfield was during the war, but I don't know the history of who purchased the Silverstone. But it's famously British Grand Prix of MotoGP and Formula One. Don't get any government subsidies, and almost every other government in the entire world, in Formula One at least, backs up their motorsport industry and not just goes to a factory that's doing particularly well for
we
a photo. We
penalise it, though, don't we? We penalise it. We've gone all Switzerland on this lately because we're penalising...
I know where you're going. It's Thursday night. Question time's around the corner. Don't.
No. Switzerland, and I'm going to car talk here, banned motorsports after the 1955 Le Mans disaster. So they basically banned it from... they banned... Excuse me. Got bunged up there. They banned motorsport in Switzerland because of an accident that happened in France.
Tragedy.
It's a bit like Iraq being invaded by America by something that the Saudis did, really, isn't it? But in a roundabout way.
So anyway, back to bikes.
What I'm getting at is the Brits have kind of gone a bit Swiss on all this and penalising diesel engines, and it's kind of like anti-car, which doesn't really make much sense to me. But
it doesn't make much sense at all. But anyway, moving on. If you disagree with, just don't even get in touch about what he just said, please. Moving on. I'm going to edit that whole bit out, to be honest. Right, Kiko, what happened in Moto 2? Please tell us.
Well, Bagnaia cleared off. Francesco Pecco Bagnaia cleared off at the front. Lorenzo Baldassarri crashed out. Mattia Pacini crashed, rejoined, finished 18th, so no points for him. Alex Marquez was second, back on the podium, but still winless since Japan last year. And Joan Mir, we're going to talk about him later, holds the cards really in MotoGP about what's going on. He was third, got his first intermediate class podium. I've got to say, though, my rides of the day in that class, Romano Fenati, coming from 12th to 7th, getting his first top 10, his first points. But Stefano Manzi, I think, came from 23rd on the grid, 22nd on the grid, finished 10th on an uncompetitive Suter, really. We've got to be honest there. The Ford Racing team was switched from Kalex to Suter, and it's not worked out. But Stefano Manzi, 10th place, could hardly believe when I was looking. The 62 coming good. And I tell you, in 2016, when he was in Moto3, he kind of triggered, in a way, when he got a good result. This could be the start of a bit of momentum. Where are we going next? Mugello. Perfect time.
Interesting.
Sam Lowes is still struggling. 13th at Le Mans, 15th overall in the championship.
What's going on?
Oh, I don't know. I really don't. I do not know at all. He's obviously got pace, but I just think in the race it's not coming through. Maybe. I don't know. In other news, Xavi Vierge is starting to become quite established as a frontrunner.
Old Verge.
Where did you drive through that in Spa on your way to Spa? What's it? Off-air joke. We shouldn't bring off-air jokes in. Shouldn't bring
But I will anyway.
Excuse me.
Fantastic.
But yeah, Xavi Vierge starting to come really good, established himself as the front runner, came to the back of the grid at Le Mans, finished 5th. Could he have a little say in MotoGP rider lineups?
No.
We're having this. I was having this conversation with a team owner yesterday, and we was discussing this, that there is quite a funny. There's quite a I don't know, an influx of young riders, but young and almost unproven. They've got Bagnaia's coming up next year. Oliveira's coming up next year. Looks like Joan Mir could come up next year. That's 3. Who else? If we get 4 riders coming in, there is no room for 4 riders.
We just can't fit them in, love. No room.
Can't do it.
No room.
But that was Moto 2. And if we're going to go quickly, excuse me again.
Wow,
Moto.
yes. Unbelievable. Thank you. That burp was brought to you by Coke Zero. It's still disgusting.
Sorry, I didn't mean for it to be that near to the young microphone there. Sorry. Moto 3, whilst we're here, because we've got to pick the time up now. Albert Arenas. How? I don't know. Won his first Grand Prix at Le Mans. Fabio Di Gianantonio, the Gresini guys put out a press release calling him the moral winner because he crossed the line first and was then penalised for 3 seconds. And I've got to say, I cannot believe Jacob Cornfile. How on earth did he save that? I don't think we actually have a photo, but if you want to go on...
You've seen it anyway, you know what it is.
Yeah, I do. If you want to go on my Twitter, I must have been one of the first people to put the photo of it up. Stole it off someone, some French photographer, don't know who. But thank you.
That's at MotoGP Kiko.
Or at M Sport Radio for direct inquiries. Yes, I put it up, and it went mad because I just put this caption on. Cornfile is literally taking off. It's the most unbelievable save I have ever seen. And Marc Marquez agrees.
I don't think he had a say in it, though. I think he just sat on it and waited to crash and then realised that he didn't crash.
Yeah, it was a bit of luck, but what a save.
You can't really save it when it's in the air, can you?
You can still land it. That was unbelievable. Do you know what?
It was pretty good.
Mino got second, so it was an Aspar or Angel Nieto racing team, 1-2. Mino goes second in the championship, goes second in Le Mans, puts him 5th in the championship, despite only having 2 top 5 finishes. Bezzecchi is still leading the title on 63 points, and Nicolo Belega has not finished a race in the points for 7 races. I don't know what's going on there. I'd imagine it isn't good.
I actually have no comment, to be honest. Not been following it as much as you have.
Well, you are shocking.
Not really. You are shocking, Kiko. Yeah, anyway. So, this is the Superbike show, and Kiko is here. And you can get in touch with us if you like. It's at M Sport Radio on the Twitters. It's Motorsport Radio on Facebook, and it's you can just leave a comment in the comments box below wherever you're listening to this right now. We will talk about some MotoGP rumours in a short while. In fact, let's do that now, shall we? Still to come, though. In fact, before we get on to said rumours, still to come in the next 50 minutes, let's say. So set your watches, and it will be a random time in 50 minutes, so don't go skipping and playing this forward and trying to catch the interviews if you're watching this back. At a random amount of time, we'll have an interview with a young Mr. Brad Jones we caught up with him a couple of weeks ago at Alton Park in the BSB paddock. Got some interesting things to say. You might want to check that out. And also team owner of Mission Racing, Russell Owen. He's on the show as well, coming up in the next, within the hour, I'd say. A good 50 minutes. And also, we chat to Gino Rea, making his World Superbike. Is it his debut? No, it's well, he's racing in OMG with OMG this weekend Yes, OMG Racing in Donington this weekend. We'll be hearing from him and his teammate riding in the Stock 1000, Ben Luxton. That's all coming up. This is the Superbike Show. My name is Lester, and Kiko is here.
I am here.
Hello, Kiko.
Hello.
And so MotoGP rumours then, and one massive rumour is that, and this is totally verified and completely true, and definitely not a PR stunt at all, but Marc Marquez is going to be racing, at least trying out a Formula One car.
Yeah. Not the first to have that privilege. Jorge Lorenzo tested the Mercedes, and Valentino Rossi back in 2006 was a Ferrari driver for a day. So, not the first. You know, I don't think.
And Lewis Hamilton has, I think, tested.
And the Augusta helped develop that bike. I don't know how that works. So, but no, Marquez has got a contract till 2020. Now, he wouldn't leave that, surely, to go and do F1. Am I right? Now, you'll know more on this than me because you're more cars. F1 do quite long periods of contracts, don't they? Like, they do 4-year deals?
Not really, no. They used to.
I thought Red Bull used to.
Depending on how good a driver is, obviously you want to keep your best ones tied down in a big, long contract. Marquez, I would say, is one of them sorts of talents where you would want to keep them tied down into a big, long contract. However, there has been recently, in motorsport in general, not just in cars or in bikes, but there's been a lot more big names moving from one big championship to another big championship just for one-off races.
Alonso with the Indy 500
this time last year, and also Nico Hülkenberg. He competed in Le Mans previously, and
Glenn Irwin, really, to the northwest.
Yeah, so it could well happen. It really could, depending on his contracts. And I'm guessing that Honda have him sewn up into a super watertight contract because he's Marquez.
And am I right in thinking as well that Red Bull switch engine manufacturers soon?
Toro Rosso switched to a Honda engine, sorry.
Okay.
But it's Renault in the Red Bull, I think.
Does that go to Aston Martin now?
Yeah, he's branded as an Aston Martin. I don't know the dates exactly, but it is that. And there could be a tie-in. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, maybe a Red Bull Honda type naming deal, because he will be testing the car, I believe, at the Red Bull Ring, I think. And it will be a Toro Rosso car.
And he's actually a Red Bull sponsored rider.
Exactly. So there's that whole.
There is a bit of cohesiveness to it all.
Could the team perhaps be branded in the future, maybe a Red Bull Honda, maybe?
Unbelievable. Can you imagine if he went? Oh, Formula One needs something.
I would love that, to be honest. I would love that.
It's actually not been too shabby this year, the highlights I've seen of it. But moving on,
so that's going to happen.
Mir, the rumour mill, overdrive. Joan Mir holds the cards to all of the big teams here. There are rumours saying that he might go to Ducati. Repsol Honda might want him. Suzuki are after him. That Suzuki one's a very strong one. There could be a whole chain reaction depending on Joan Mir's decision. It really could. They really could.
Really?
Yes.
So he's the main man in control of everyone's destiny? Don't think so.
Him and Jorge Lorenzo. Because I'd argue to you, Lester, that Suzuki seat, there's only one left. If Joan Mir goes there and Jorge Lorenzo is replaced at Ducati by Danilo Petrucci, where does he go? Where does Jorge Lorenzo go? Where does Andrea Iannone go? There's rumours Iannone might head Aprilia bound. What if Scott Redding's kept on at Aprilia? Then you've got Iannone and Lorenzo with no ride, potentially. Iannone probably won't be invited back to Ducati.
BSB.
Lorenzo probably won't be kept on by Ducati. There's not many other rides left. I wouldn't imagine Repsol would take either. Lorenzo wouldn't want to play second fiddle to Marquez.
I don't know. Maybe we could see some sort of I don't know.
It's like
a weird world where maybe Jonathan Ray swaps with someone and they're doing a thing. And
there's the other rumour. Johnny Ray wants to come in now. His manager, who I cannot remember whose name, it's Chuck Axland, I think his name is, was seen at the Grand Prix, and apparently teams have approached him, inquiring about Jonathan Ray.
I'm sure they have. Triple world champion.
Factory teams. So if Joan Mir goes, say, okay, play it like this. Johnny Ray's still quite liked by Honda, roughly. If Joan Mir goes to Suzuki, then Johnny Ray comes across to Honda. Danny Pedrosa's got no ride, potentially. Jorge Lorenzo's got no ride, potentially. Andrea Iannone's got no ride. We are talking here, really. World Superbikes could have a massive spillover of MotoGP refugees. It really could.
Maybe. It sort of already kind of has that anyway.
Does, but not normally.
You're talking about top talent, though.
Oh, we're not. When Carlos Checo went over, he was nowhere anyway. When Alex Barros went over, he wasn't really doing the business. Max Biaggi went over because he had no ride. But we're talking 5-time Grand Prix champion in Jorge Lorenzo. Talking Grand Prix race winner in Andrea Iannone. Talking how many time a runner-up for Danny Pedrosa? 3-time Grand Prix champion in the smaller classes. Been at Honda for years.
Well,
there is potential for tremors the size of I don't know what. Huge.
I don't see most of that happening, to be honest. I think maybe you perhaps just getting a bit exaggerating and sort of.
So are you telling me that Joan Mir will not go to Suzuki?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that what you've said probably won't happen.
Right, well, here's another rumour. Manuel Pacino, very well-respected journalist in MotoGP, reckons that Jorge Lorenzo might be having to have a sabbatical next year.
Doubt that.
Can you imagine? And I've mentioned this. We are facing the prospect of a 5-time champion potentially having no ride. Would his management let it get that far? Probably not. But Suzuki
he'd probably just end up in still on the grid, but not where he probably wants to be.
Davide Brivio, Suzuki team manager, wanted to bring Jorge Lorenzo over. Suzuki said they don't want Jorge Lorenzo. Brings too much aggro, too much annoyances and inconvenience. He's too much of a big name. It's such a very, very interesting time for MotoGP. Really, really is. Danny Pedrosa, mention him. He could well be World Superbike bound. I don't think that's too much of a far-fetched thought. Red Bull rider, Red Bull Honda. Jake Gagne's not doing the business. Honda aren't going to want to mess about. They'll want to have both.
He was one of your ones to watch, wasn't he? Old Gajny.
Jake Gagne, your favourite. Not really.
He was, and I remember you definitely.
Are you wanting to put some money on that?
Stop betting! You've got a problem. I swear to God. No, but seriously, before the season, he was like, "Oh yeah, amongst the other 19 other riders that he named, he's like, oh yes, definitely, it's going to be so and so and Thingy, and also yes, he could do well as well, and watch out for Thingy and old Gagne. He'll be
Jake Gagne.
He'll be there all there.
Come good as he gets better with the bike, but not Danny Pedrosa level.
So he's rubbish then.
No.
How could you say that, Kiko? It's terrible.
He's not rubbish.
That's what you just
I'm saying that Danny Pedrosa is a better rider. I don't need any scientific proof for that.
I don't need your facts and statistics coming over here telling me what's what. Anyway,
I'll go all Remain now.
So Gagne will be out by the end of the season then, will he?
If Danny Pedrosa goes to Red Bull Honda, yes.
Okay. Also, are we still talking about MotoGP now?
Kind of, yes.
A couple of other rumours before Kiko dies.
Hey. Kind of mentioned him already. Hot property starting to become very, very accomplished, established at the front end. He is going to, in the next 2 years, if not this year, start to be on a lot of people's shopping lists.
How do you know?
Because I've got this feeling that Vieira may
So
well...
we'll never hear from him again, then.
Yeah. Vieira may well go to Tech 3, KTM, because, of course, he rode for Tech 3 back in 2017. And a very fine job he did of it as well. He knows the team. Hervé Poncharal did not want to let him go. I'm telling you, Vieira, again, if he starts coming good, could be another one who comes in. So, I mean, worst case scenario for Jorge Lorenzo is Vieira, Mia, and Jonathan Ray all come up. And what if Lorenzo Baldassari wins the championship? What do we do then?
Unbelievable, tell you. It's unbelievable.
I'm telling you, there's a lot of...
There's like 20 odd people who could come good and do really well this year.
We are in very exciting times, and just to throw it all into the mix, the World Superbike rider contracts are up at the end of this year as well.
Yes, and
maybe Jorge Lorenzo may keep his job at Ducati just in another championship. Maybe he will be at Aruba Society Ducati on the V4, of course.
Could be in BSB.
Do you know what? And I'll say this: I will bet anyone that Jorge Lorenzo. It's just force of habit to say it like that. Jorge Lorenzo would not get in the showdown at BSB. Can you imagine Jorge Lorenzo at Knock Hill?
Yeah.
It'd be the most out of sorts I think I'd ever see him.
He might do really well at Knock Hill.
There is a track record of European riders never managing to cut the mustard at BSB. That Italian Dave last year. Sylvain Barrier this year.
Before we start slagging off a whole list of riders.
We are saying fact here. Scassa couldn't do it. Biocco couldn't do it. I'm telling you.
Anyway, let us know your thoughts. If you
Baz couldn't do it.
Especially if you disagree with what Kiko has to say. We want to know.
M-Sport Radio.
M-Sport Radio or Motorsport Radio on Facebook. Or just leave your comments in the comments box below. This is the Superbike Show. That's Kiko taking a nice and refreshing drink there.
Have we got a Gino Ria and Ben Luxon interview coming up?
Yes, we have. We'll also chat about, if we've got time, I don't know if we do, but I will mention it anyway, a little bit more about Cool Fab Racing. And also this weekend, it's the second round for the British Talent Cup as well, of many of the riders. You all right there? Have you finished that off? Is that good? Yeah, you done? Okay. Anyway. Sorry, kids. Just Kiko was having a little drink there. I was going to talk about the British Talent Cup, but there's no time. We'll get on to moving about our next... My God. Interview next. This is the Superbike Show. It's Motorsport Radio. A couple of weeks ago, we caught up with OMG Racing UK's pair of riders, Ben Luxton in the Superstock 1000 class and Gino Ria, who's already pre-season anyway, been raising some eyebrows about how well the bike was performing in pre-season. And after a bit of a rocky start at the start of the season, they seem to be finding their feet.
Outside the OMG pit garage here at Alton Park, sunny weather for the first time this season. Gino, we'll come to you first. It's been a difficult start to the year. Did you expect it to be like this, or did you know a little bit you'd use your Grand Prix experience before and make it work?
It's probably been a bit tougher than we anticipated. It was never going to be easy. This championship is such a high level. The depth of talent in the field here is incredible. It's a bit like, it reminds me a bit of a Moto2 days. You know, when you're not quite there with the bike, you're feeling, and the package is new and you're not quite developed. You know, you're a second off, which is nothing really in the sense of it when you think about how much that is on track. You know, click of the fingers, but you know you're down in 15th. So it's very competitive, and it's exactly that. When things are not right, you're not able to show your potential. So it started off okay at Donington until we had the big crash in the qualifying. And after that, we had a few issues from then on that weekend. So we tried to regroup a little bit at Brands, but yeah, it was a bit of a shock to the system around Brands. Obviously, Donington I know really well. Over the last few years I've raced there, and it's a bit more of a Grand Prix style track, whereas when you get to Brands and you get to here, it was a bit like a slap in the face. So it's been difficult to adapt to these circuits and adapt the whole kind of package, my riding, the bike, to the circuit. So when you know the circuit and you know what the circuit requires, it's a lot easier to develop the bike quicker. When you come here, the track requires a totally different bike that you would use at Donington, so it's taken a while to get there. But yeah, first day here of Alton Park race weekend, and we've made some good progress in that last session there, and just started to find my confidence a bit around this circuit and yeah, learn my way around. So.
What's the next steps needed to get back to the testing? Because you was top 4, top 5 all the way through testing. What's the next step just to put you in that situation again for the races?
It's just a little bit here and a little bit there, to be honest. As I said, obviously I knew the Cartagena circuit very well for the pre-season testing. I knew Donington very well, and the bike worked okay around Cartagena, around the Spanish-style circuit. So it's just adapting it to these UK-style circuits. You know, Alton Park is probably the most difficult track to learn. Luckily, I had the test day here last week, and we're able to make some progress there, and we made a bit more progress this morning. It's just that we've got a lot of ideas and things that we're trying on the bike, but not a lot of time. The sessions are only 45 minutes, and we're making big changes throughout the session to session, from day to day. So it's about adapting and making the right progress in the right way, you know, and trying not to take a step back.
OMG, brand new team this year, very excitable, lively bunch of people, as we know. How's that having effects on you? Because obviously some people may look at it and say you've come out the Grand Prix, kind of, it's a bit more formal there, so to speak, maybe. How have you found it adapted into like this really kind of not comical, but very much more banter orientated area? Yeah,
it's great actually. It's one of the main attractions for me is being in a team and an environment where everyone stays positive no matter what happens. Everyone's behind you, everyone's backing you, everyone wants the same goal, everyone's here for the same thing, and that's to do the best they can with what we got. Rather than you know, I've been in a variety of different teams, different nationalities over the past, and like you say, more professional teams, more teams that are there to be there, and over the period of the last 8-9 years, well, I'd say probably the period of the last 3 or 4 years where I've been in difficulties in the World Championship. One of the main attractions, like I said, coming to this team is their mentality and how positive they are, and how, you know, like you said, it's a new team, so no one's expecting results straight off, but everyone's, as comical as you say as it might come across, everyone's here to have fun, but there's this very serious side to it, and they want to give me what it takes to win, and they're doing just that. So couldn't ask any more for them. Great environment, great bunch of people, and very thankful to be part of the team.
Finally, before we move on to Ben, you touched then briefly on your Grand Prix career, on your World Championship racing career. If you was to pick one standout moment, which one would it be?
Probably the Moto2 podium in Sepang. Yeah, that's probably it's pretty the biggest achievement on my CV. But there's been a few along the line. World Supersport race win was good. Battling with the likes of like Marquez and that in Moto2, that was nice. But yeah, the Moto2 podium was probably the most memorable.
Okay, Gino, we'll come back to you in a moment. Ben, different story to you. You've come up to the Stock Thousands, not been on one of them before at this level. How have you found it so far? For 4 races in, because you've obviously got the double race system in Stock Thousands. How has it been so far, adapting to a new bike and a new way of riding?
Yeah, it's been tricky, to be honest. I find it a lot harder than the 600, a completely different way of riding. But we're getting there slowly. We made good progress today, so keep chipping away and see where we can get.
Does having someone like Gino with the stature and the background he comes from, does it put pressure on you to kind of live up to his achievements, or does it inspire you to think, well, we're in it together kind of thing, we're a team, there's competitiveness, but also, you know, let's work together?
Yeah, it doesn't put any pressure on me at all. If anything, Gino can help me where he can, and that's a massive help. And yeah, like I say, just keep improving and see where we can get.
What's the overall target for this year? Because it is your first year, so people aren't expected to go out and dominate the championship straight away. But as the year progresses and as things change, you'll want to get into the points, top 10s and so on from there.
Yeah, of course, that's it. I think if we can get into the points sooner than later and then aim for top 10s and then be consistently in the top 10s, then maybe fight for maybe top 5s. But if we can get in the top 10, then especially in the top 1,000 class, then you're going the right way, to be honest. So, no, if we can get to top 10, then that'd be great.
Okay, so we're going to come back to both of you now. A couple of questions you can answer. You've both been in the team now for long enough to really understand each other. Who's the more competitive out of the both of you?
Oh, it's difficult to say. You know, luckily we're not head to head. We're not in the same class, so you know, I think every race has got that competitive side that's different to, you know, the general public. But yeah, it's hard to say. We haven't been head to head, so maybe we'll have to race the scooters and we'll find out.
Who would you say, Ben?
Yeah, like Gino says, because we're not in the same class, so it's hard to say. But yeah, we might have a race on a scooter and see who finds out.
You make great politicians with diplomatic answers like that, I'll tell you. What bit of advice would you give to Ben, looking forward to his career? Obviously, he'll want to progress. What would you say that something you did you'd pass on as a top tip, so to speak?
Probably one of the biggest things for me is to almost be as much of a sponge as you can and absorb every bit of information, every bit of detail that you see go on, when we're speaking together. Just try and absorb it and try and translate that into your own riding, you know, and really think about what people are saying and try to put that in display on the track in your own work, you know. And yeah, and just, you know, Ben's in a great team, got great people around him, and just bounce off the positivity of the people. And the biggest thing for me is just work hard, never give up, and you'll get there.
Hey, bit more of a jokey kind of question for you now. Who's got the best hairstyle in the team? Oh, out of you two?
Definitely got to be me, definitely.
Why is that then?
I don't know, to be honest, but it's better anyway.
We spent half hour in the mirror before this interview. I was only 5 minutes. So.
I'm not going to say anything, apart from Cattell. Joking. Lads, thanks for joining us.
Motorsport Radio. The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.
Fantastic stuff. Ben Luxton and Gino Rea talking to Kiko at the most recent round of BSB at Alton Park, which was a absolutely steaming hot affair. It was apparently the hottest ever at Bank Holiday weekend on record. And also as well, it was apparently... I've not confirmed this, but apparently this is what I heard on BSB radio at the time. It was also a record crowd at Alton Park, and it certainly was very well attended, if not a record crowd. Anyway, and we were there, as you just heard. And yeah, that was a good... something that maybe Ben and Gina just mentioned about finding out who's the best of them, perhaps. I just thought, well... I've got one particular idea as to maybe how they can sort out who is the best, the overall best. In particular, who's the quickest out of them. Maybe they can both have a mini moto race.
At Cool Fab?
Yes! Where else?
Oh, you are a little devil, you, I tell you.
Although you don't want to be getting on a sidecar, because sometimes things like this happen.
Mick Lee comes through turn 9. It's all about building, all the way down the straight. Jack Quarters
towards the end of the race, and
they get to the braking area, down into turn 2. We've got 2. They're down. We've got 3
Had to cut away from that, pretty sharpish. Yeah, that was a lot of stuff going on at Cool Fab Racing. British Mini Bikes Championship at the most recent round 3 at Tattershall last weekend. You can go back and watch all the footage from there. Every race was captured, either ourselves at Motorsport Media or TDI Media were there doing the proper TV work. So yeah, Cool Fab Racing, official partner series to the BSB and on the road to MotoGP, hence why we mentioned it, because it's also great and also it brings out a lot of stars of the future today. Right, so yes, we've still got, by the way, some fantastic interviews coming up for you, like Kiko.
We've got the Brad Jones interview to come and also the Russ Owen interview. But before that, we're going to briefly skim through Medicines and the Donington Park World Superbikes. Brits have won the last 11 races there since race 2 in 2012. Controversial finish that with Johnny Ray, Leon Haslam, Marco Melandri all coming together. Tom Sykes is the man in form there, though, has won 9 times. Realistically, Chaz Davies needs to win this weekend if he's to keep himself really in the hunt for the championship. Alex Lowe's in Yamaha will look to be back on the podium, of course, there as well. Leon Camia is back racing, full fitness, probably not. Full weekend is his aim. Eugene Laverty, is still getting up to speed after his horror Thailand crash, which put him out until Imola, where he came back, had 2 respectable results. There is a whole host of wildcards. We've kind of rolled back the years here with World Superbikes. If you haven't read my feature on wildcards, I suggest you do so. If you like Oasis, you'll get some nice song references as well. It's on the motorsport.radio website.
It is. It's good, actually. Check it out.
Oh, thank you. Lester, means so much. So, yes, go and have a look at that. I know Colin Wright, the soon-to-be Martin Halsall team manager, Halsall Racing team manager. I know he thoroughly enjoyed reading it, and he was part of it all back then when Neil Hodgson took his first win. But let's talk about the wildcard. Leon Haslam's there, Brad Ray is there, our very own Brad Ray. Gino Ria is there, Luke Mossey's there, Mason Law's there, and Nicolo Canepa. No, he isn't British, he's Italian. He's a third Patty Yamaha there. He's very quick actually on that as well. So it could be a bit of a spoiler. Ryan Vickers is in the Supersport class as we spoke about earlier. Morello Kawasaki were thinking about going there, but decided not to because they've got basically 6 weeks off, and it's been a difficult start to the season for them. So they want to get the bike sorted, ready for the onwards travels through the country for round 4 onwards for British Superbikes. So. Any predictions? Let us know in the comments. Lester, what's your prediction for the podium?
Well, I joked
because
that...
No, you didn't. This is not a joke. Ignore him.
I joked that we could see a Ria, Ray and Ray podium. It could happen. It
could happen.
It probably won't.
Do you know what? There's a real chance as well we could have a wildcard winner.
I think...
Leon Haslam or Brad Ray would be my money.
I'm actually not going to predict anything because I don't want to jinx it.
Just predict a winner.
What I will do, I'll ask something. Well, I'm going to ask you something differently though.
Oh.
Of the wild cards that have been entered for this round, who, if there was like a mini league, a mini championship, just off the wild cards alone, if they were, let's say, in their own separate class or championship, who would win from those? Would it necessarily be Haslam? Could it be Brad Ray?
That's an hard one. It'd be one of them, I think.
Could it even be Gino?
I don't know.
Or what about Luke? Could this be the one? Could this be the? Could he? Could it, you don't know. That's the thing. You don't know.
You're doing what I do. I'm just gonna say.
Oh, what about Mason Law though? I mean, he's looking to be right up there.
There is no point in me being here, is there?
Oh,
no,
go on.
I think Brad Ray.
So you think Brad Ray is going to do better than Haslam?
Yes, I do. Because if you look at Leon Haslam at Imola, I know it's not Donington, but he didn't look particularly fast there. As in, he didn't look like front running fast. And I think Brad Ray's got a bit of top 6 in him. Oh, it's also very exciting. I can't remember being this excited for a World Superbike round, actually.
That's quite true. I did call it a resurgent. Pull me here.
You did.
I did call it a resurgent. It's got that feel to it, and I always thought that from the end of last season's criticisms. And I just think, well, since the BBC nominated Johnny Ray and he came second, almost won it as well. I thought that was a turning point, not necessarily in the biking. People who like and follow it anyway, but I think there was just a wider sea change mentality. A lot more eyes are on World Superbikes that they wouldn't have been anyway, ordinarily, say this time 2 years ago, for example. And that's maybe why we've got all the amazing wildcard riders this year, potentially.
There's still a long way to go. And like I say, if you read the article that is up, the feature piece I wrote, I explain how the wildcards are one of the dimensions coming back in that are going to help World Superbikes rebrand and become more than just a shadow of what it is.
Thing is, though, while
there's still things that need to be done.
While it might be great for the British round and having so many British riders as wild cards,
it's for mating TV figures in Europe. It's going to.
When we go to other not as popular rounds, which is arguably Donington, certainly by previous attendance figures in previous years.
Portugal.
That aside. But, you know, I mean, if we have, like, local wildcard riders at every round and they start to make up the bulk of the back of the grid pack, it can have the opposite effect. Whilst every local... Do you know what I mean? Whilst the championship's in the area, all the locals there might go, all these local riders.
I know what you're getting at. It is a theory that Julian Ryder actually said on our show. We'll have to dig it out. He said that what you should have is just like, I think 12 or 14 regular riders and then wildcards from each country that you go to come in and ride there. Now, that would work in some countries. I'm not quite sure it would work in the likes of Qatar. I don't think it would really work.
Well, I don't know. You
Thailand.
could draft in the.
I don't think it would work in America very well. I don't know if it'd work in Argentina. If that
you could make it work in America. There's enough talent there to make it work. An alternative is to do potentially what I think maybe BSB do. For example, if you nominate a feeder series, just like, for example, Cool Fab Racing is the official feeder series of BSB, and On the Road to MotoGP, for example, just using that example. Now, although there isn't an automatic place for successful riders to move up, but like Ryan Vickers has similarly done in BSB in those championships, if you do well at your local national championship, for example, say the top 3 from whoever's in that championship, top 3 at that time before their local round, could automatically get a place in the World Superbike round.
They could.
So say the top 3 in BSB.
So it's a little bit like you're talking about, like football leagues then, really.
As a wild card thing, though. So say, for example, whoever's in the top 3 or top 5 in BSB automatically get offered a place in World Superbikes, which is kind of like what's happened anyway, really. But if I'm thinking about making it more actual formal and making it a thing, so every single one, and that would make it a bit more of a solid structure, I think, to not only just World Superbikes, but also national championships around the countries that it goes as well.
What you need to do is make it an event.
Well,
no, you can't just have motorcycle racing.
But that's what it is.
As in, what I'm saying is, you can't rely solely on the racing. There has to be other dynamics that draw people there.
Do you mean it has to be more family friendly?
No, it needs to be more like it was in the late 90s. Just, especially in Britain, just an all-out festival. It just needs that. I mean, it's easy for us.
You want it to be like a BSB round, don't you? Where you've got a bit of everything.
Kind of. No, kind of. What I'd like to see is, so in the late 90s, obviously I'm not really an expert on that era because I wasn't alive.
Of course you were.
Britain was on the come down from Oasis, the Britpop era.
What the hell has Oasis got to do with Superbike?
Just wait. Oh. And World Superbikes was at the pinnacle of British sport. It was, when it came to Britain, it was the biggest outside sporting event in the UK. Now, those two things kind of went hand in hand because you had the Oasis crowd who wanted the festival, and you had the Superbike crowd who wanted just the racing and all the fun and stuff that came with it. So when you mix the two up and you create like this amazing rocky atmosphere, it happened. Now, I'm not saying you need rock bands and stuff to come, but what you need is well,
the Download Festival's not far away.
But what I'm saying is you need World Superbikes to kind of have it to become like a cultural thing, if you know what I mean. It sounds weird, but what I mean, we need to reinstill the aspect that World Superbikes is worth going to. We need to celebrate it more and make it an event.
I do. You know, like what you mean.
500's the event of North American motorsport.
Yeah,
people go to that event.
It would be better served for everyone involved if it was more than just a race you see on a satellite channel.
Yes,
as part of a championship that really nobody cares about.
Exactly.
I agree.
It needs to be a little bit more than what it is. It needs to be different than MotoGP, which I don't think it is, because they still have one race on the Sunday. But it needs also to still maintain motorcycle racing aspects, but it needs to get the crowd. Maybe it does need a band. The America's Grand Prix pulled in Cheap Trick a couple of years ago. Now, for those of you who don't know American rock, they were if you've seen Top Gun, sung Mighty Wings. Now, they were a massive band in America. James Toseland performed in America this year.
Yeah, but Americans have always done that sort of gimmicky type of thing.
But maybe it's time they did it here. Maybe we need to be more like that. Be more like America.
MSV are, to their credit, I know a lot of people slagged them off, not us,
but
MSV have always been very, very, very good at creating a festival. In fact, if you go to Brands Hatch, there's always posters all over the circuit talking about the next mini festival, the Ferrari festival, a truck festival. They have a bonfire night festival, and that's exactly what it is. It's more than just a few cars on the track or bikes on the track or whatever it is. It is more of an event, and MSV have been fantastic at that.
It needs to be, and I'm not just the only one saying this either. Spoke to Keith Ewan about this after the Tyro. It needs to be more of what that country is, if you know what I mean.
So you want a Black Pudding Festival, don't you?
It's very, at the moment, it's very samey. Everywhere it goes, it's the same.
Well, the reason why it's the same, I know what you mean. There's usually a business reason why it's the same, because you don't change something if it's generally working, and Dorna doesn't have any competition. So why would they change it?
Is Imola. Imola's working because they've got the Italian pizza restaurant in pit lane. They've got the big crowds, the big grandstands. It's in the city centre. It's almost like the people in Italy accept Imola as the big round for them.
Well, Donington, you've got the cafe right in the middle of the pit lane now as well. You've got the brand new Garage 39. And that's basically right in the middle of the pit lane.
It is. It's very true. It's, I don't know. I just don't know. Maybe, I mean, I was speaking to Colin Wright about this yesterday. When Hodgson won in 2000 and in 2001, there was 100,000 people there watching on race day. Like, we was in that very good area where World Superbikes was a cultural thing. It was a normal thing. It was Brands Hatch was the absolute meeting place all over the world for bike enthusiasts, all of it. It was the Isle of Man TT to World Superbikes. It was that big pull factor where everyone across the world wants to come. Couldn't move.
I understand.
That's what you need to captivate. There has to be something more than when World Superbikes at Brands Hatch, people were up all hours, camping in the grounds, drinking all night. It was that typically British kind of, let's have a weekend off it. That's what it was all about.
Again, I do think you're describing BSB here.
Kind of, but it's not on that level. Like, we're talking tens of thousands of people here.
Yeah, that's BSB.
But not.
I know what you mean. BSB is
not creating that 24/7 absolute live life. Let's go for it across the week.
I get what you mean.
Needs to be. They're like the Indy 500. I think it attracted 330,000 people.
Slightly different because it's in a different country, which is enormous. It's like the size of Europe, bigger.
But what I'm saying is they've created that event. We need to create small-scale versions of that. Even if it's 50,000 people that turn up on race day, that's still a lot of people.
Do you know the key to those massive events, especially in America? TV coverage.
Yeah, but see, people say this about American TV coverage, but it's nothing but adverts.
Yeah, there's a reason why they've got adverts, because people want to advertise on a popular event. If it wasn't full of adverts, I mean, yes, it's a double-edged sword. The more adverts you've got, it also says how well and healthy
that series is doing.
The series is doing. But also, and there's nothing, I'm not saying anything at all negative about Eurosport. They do a fantastic job, the commentators and everyone. But not everyone's got Eurosport.
Yeah.
And I don't want to sound like one of those people who are tuned in right now. You know who you are. Who sort of wish for the days again that it was back on the BBC. That would probably help in terms of viewing it. Well,
really?
Yes, definitely.
How?
Well, for example,
how would you work that out? Because to me, this one takes away from the other. If you've got it free to air, what's the point in going? There's no point.
Well, all the good times. Okay, so let's say 18 years ago.
On this year,
18 years ago, when you were just when you were just explaining all the glorious times when it was reaching 100,000 people, and there was a chippy in the pit lane, and it was all fantastic. And well, those races weren't they also on the BBC as well?
No, they came on a little bit. They came on a little bit. 2000, I think it was Lee Diffie. But after 4 years, it went back off. It was always live on Eurosport anyway. The only times it ever came free to air was for that tiny period. Because before then, from 93 to 99, it was on Sky. So I don't buy that at all. I just don't buy that. And to get a free to air slot, you've got to have the viewing figures to warrant that on BBC, and it's never going to happen.
Wow.
Moving on, shall we?
Yeah, moving on, because we're trying to fix something that just isn't even broken. We started off saying,
we started saying this is doing. That is absolutely your doing. Northwest 200 chat. We're not going to talk about that now, and we're not going to cover the step test.
The way to fix the Northwest 200. Let me tell you. No, but
I will just say, well done to Glenn Owen. Spoke to him early on the phone. He's turning his phone off for 2 weeks now. He is done. He's been bombarded by congratulations and everything. So
he's sobering up.
Massive well done. And massive well done to Alistair Seeley, and huge well done to Pete Hickman, first Northwest 200 win on Thursday night, beating Alistair Seeley in what was a classic race. It really was. So that's the Northwest 200 read done. We're not going to have the chat like we planned on doing. When quickly go the SNET test, it was all about Luke Mossey and Bradley Ray on top. Morello Kawasaki in the Stock 1000 class had really turned a corner. Andy Reid's lap time is astonishing. He was in the 49s on the stock bike. Sensational stuff. Gino Ria, again, finding form. Perfect going forward this weekend to Donington with positivity in mind. That's really good for them. So we've done that. We've got 7 minutes.
Yeah, we can do it.
Let's get Brad Jones' interview out now. Have we got it?
Yeah.
Here at Alton Park in the paddock area, we've caught up with young Supersport rider Brad Jones. Brad, nice to have you here today. New class for this season. You obviously done very well in last year's Stock 6. What was the expectations coming into the year, first of all?
Well, it's tough to say really, because obviously Supersport is such a competitive class. Coming in, we're sort of looking at top 10s to start off with, and start breaking into the top 5s, and try knocking on the podium at the end of the year. But I've come in and it's going well. The bike's good. I'm a bit further up than where I thought I'd be, and we're making steps forward all the time. So that's the main thing. Is long as we keep moving forward and have a smile on my face. That's all we want. So.
How has the Stock 600 class prepared you for this class? Because that was mega competitive last year. You like Dan Stamper, Ryan Vickers, Jordan Gilbert. So how has that kind of prepped you to come into this class, which is equally as tough now?
Yeah, that's it. Last year was good. First year riding for a big team, and it was good. I learned a lot. And then coming into this year, it's prepared me well. We've come out of the blocks pretty quick. The team know how I work, I know how they work, and I know what they want to see. And we work well together, and we can use what we learned last year coming into this year. So it has made a good difference staying with the same team. The bike is a lot better, obviously a super stock bike, and being the new model, the R6, the front end's better, it stops better, and then being a super sport spec bike, the torque's good, it's got a quick shifter, so better engine braking. So all round it's a much better package, which is just a joy to ride. So
On the new R6 as well. You was on the old one last year, I believe. So what's the initial difference there? I know it's different classes, different regulations and whatnot, but how does this bike feel in comparison to last year?
Yeah, well, they got the bigger forks, so they're running, I think it's 43mm forks now. The discs are 20mm bigger diameter, so it stops better. The calipers are bigger, so the whole front end is a lot stiffer, so it turns better, it stops better. So going from last year's old model to this year's new model, to me, is a big difference, and I feel like we're just getting it to where it needs to be now, so which is good.
Jack Kennedy's your teammate, and that's no small name, that's no mug. He knows how to do it in this class. Does that spur you on to kind of believe, well, I've got the same bike he's got, but does it also put a bit of pressure on you, thinking I've got to try and match this guy at some point throughout the year?
I don't think it puts any pressure on, because we know that obviously Jack's got bags of experience, and it's good having him as a teammate. He's sound, get on well with him, he helps me out where I need it. We can overlay our data and see where I need to pull my finger out, which is good, so it does make a difference. So yeah, it's good.
With the support of Yamaha this year as well, obviously you're kind of the official team, I suppose. Does that make a difference?
No, not to me really. I don't look at that and think, oh, it's more pressure. It's great to be part of a supported team. Yamaha have been good. They're happy with how things are going. So as long as we keep moving forward and doing what we're doing, they're happy, which is good for me. So yeah.
What's the end result that you'd like to be happening at the end of the year? Podiums, you've said. What championship position are we looking at for a debut season in the class?
I suppose now where we're at this time in the season, we're probably looking at a top 5 in the championship. I want some podiums under my belt as the season goes on, and I just want to prove, what I can do going into next year, where hopefully, if I can stay in the class, I would, make a strong challenge for the championship.
Brad Jones talking to Kiko Giles at Donington, Alton rather. We were just talking about Donington in the World Superbikes this weekend. Brad Jones there, certainly a name to watch for the future, Kiko.
Absolutely.
Just
got to say good evening. Need to watch now.
Yeah.
Chris Oscoff, Tony Casson and Brad Jones, I know you're all tuned in because I can see you there. It comes up on my little screen here. Who's watching? Chris. Technology, eh? Ben Godfrey says hello. Angie Wood says, make it more affordable. A lot of us simply can't afford it. That is regarding World Superbikes. And you know what? It's astonishing the amount of people that get in touch with us and say that, because
I was just trying to find some ticket prices actually, just to see what they were going for.
It's £45 to go in on Sunday on the gate. That is extortionate. Considering most people, if it's because it's a world championship, you'd assume some people probably come over just for the Sunday because it's main race day. Listen, I had this conversation with my dad the other day. There's a big way that the culture of us compared to the people in the Far East. So we've just had a massive global crash, recession, whatever you want to call it, financial crisis.
10 years ago, yeah.
Portugal and Greece and Spain, to an extent, were the countries affected. Portugal lost the MotoGP because they couldn't afford to keep it on. Now, we go to Portugal for World Superbikes. Now, the crowd came back up a bit last year, 42,000 across 3 days. Still only 20,000 on race day, though. Why are we going there? People in the Western Hemisphere will always be a little bit more conservative with their money after that. However, and as my dad says, as many people have told me out there in the Thailands of the world, people out there will happily spend the money to see superstars race, to have a day out.
Yeah, if they've got it, that's the point.
If they've got it, exactly. But
if we've got the money, we would happily go to every race.
No, we wouldn't. No, we wouldn't. We are more financially
tight,
aware, I think.
No.
We are more financially aware of what we are doing with our money. Whereas it's just, I don't think it's considered as such a serious matter out there. So people will look. Thailand is nowhere near as wealthy, or the people of Thailand overall are nowhere near as wealthy as what we are, and their money probably doesn't go as far either.
But the people of Thailand, all those people who go to those races, are less likely to go around the world and watch other similar races, so they go to one a year. Explain
to me how 80,000 people turned up to the Thai race in the first year, and how 20,000, a quarter of that 80,000 figure, turned up to World Superbikes at Donington Park last year.
I remember
considering the following factors.
Go on.
Donington, in its defence, isn't probably as good as viewing as Thailand. However, it's probably the most accessible track in the country, right by a motorway, right by East Midlands Airport, not far from Manchester Airport, not far from Birmingham
It's in a central
Airport.
location.
It's right in the middle of the country.
Yeah.
There's its first point. So brilliant track, historic track. It's got massive history and culture. Second point. Thailand's track, in the middle of nowhere, really in terms of infrastructure. It's right by the city of Buriram, but hotels, not many of them. You're quite far out of the airport. And as far as services are concerned in that part of Thailand, you're quite a while away from anywhere. For me, I look at the way the people celebrate things like that in that part of the world far more. I just think they do. I genuinely think they do.
I think traditionally
there is more
Europe...
ceremonial. Europe, for me, again, an article came up the other day, I think it was on Bike Sport News, about the 600 class may well be saved because of high sales in Thailand. That's not news, because Thailand, Vietnam, China, Cambodia, Burma, India love machines. They love bikes and they love 600s. They've been on the up for the last 5 years. It's just that we've got European thinking style that only Europe matters. But really, we've just focused on it for far too long, and we've not seen an emerging market. Had we gone to Thailand 10 years ago, Vietnam 10 years ago, China, India, do you know what? I don't even think we'd be questioning World Superbikes' crowd issues, because they are that's the emerging region. No, but they have been, like we
recently,
have.
Yes, recently.
Exactly. But I don't think we would have, because we'd be going to countries that are way more likely to go to a race like that.
Definitely this year. I will definitely make a prediction that probably... I'm just saying, like, with all the... You get that there is a resurgent feel to World Superbikes, somewhat. Yes. Maybe not to previous levels whenever you thought it was great, for example. But there is a definite trend, a feeling that it's going to be better this year in general than it has been in previous years, when it's just attracted a lot of criticism. Partly that's for many different reasons. The rule changes that came in this year, which were widely worried over, turned out to really not be that much of a big issue, I suppose, unless you're a rider and whatever. Anyway, but generally speaking, culturally and popularity of it, I think, is going to be a lot more. And I would be really, really, really shocked, especially with MSV now at the helm at Donington, if ticket sales were worse this year than they were. I think last year's, was it like the worst ever, I think?
It must have been.
World Superbikes.
I mean, in 99...
Something like 14,000, 15,000, wasn't it?
In 99... It was 90,000, which was 6 times as much as what turned up to Donington for the Grand Prix that year. Last year, 20,000 turned up for World Superbikes. They've lost 70,000 people in 19 years.
So, yeah, I would confidently say that this year, with all the improvements in infrastructure around the circuit, in the circuit, the cafe, everything basically in Donington, which
it's
still
just
continues.
a better place to be. It's a better place to be this year.
It is,
and I think you feel that as well, because it's done by MSV. You feel a bit of security. I feel you feel like if you have got a problem, you can kind of go and talk to them.
You know that MSV know what they're doing. They don't have any big failures on their books or in their history. You're all right there. Knocking over his sweet shop. Okay, so...
Why did you say that? I had cheeky pick and mix earlier. And he didn't know that because I had them before I came on camera. Shall we go to the Russell Owen interview quickly?
I think we better add, because...
Oh dear.
Anyway, Russell Owen of Mission Racing is the team owner in Mission Racing. If you've not been following their progress, they started out with 2 really quick stick riders, or 3 actually, and I'll let him explain anyway. It's been a bit of a mare season so far for him.
Russell Owen, Mission Racing team owner. This season's been a bit difficult to start with. Just tell us how it's gone so far, 3 rounds in.
3 rounds in, we've been dealt a little bit of bad luck. The bad luck started in pre-season testing, to be honest, but we was hoping today, well, I'm saying as luck's changed, we actually had a good Donington riding-wise, it was a hard round for us. Fundamentally, I'll talk about Fraser first. He's a fast lad, we know he's a fast lad, and I knew what he could do on this BMW, and he kind of did prove it at Donington. One of the big problems we've had is with a pre-season crash, we've had an electrical gremlin in there that's meant he's had absolutely no rider aids whatsoever. So he's had no traction control, no engine braking, no anti-wheelie. So he is fundamentally riding a sort of a superbike, if you would. But we made the best of a bad situation. Obviously, for a short while he led one of the races at Donington, and he got up to 4th, and I think he finished 8th, 6th, and he dropped off of the wet race. Again, with no traction control, the rear tyre was spinning that much, it went up to probably maybe 30 odd PSI, so he had no chance. But Brands Hatch, he had a little off doing a practice start, which is not the ideal place to have an off, so we missed free practice too, qualified 18th because we missed half of that as well. But again, he fought his way up almost into single figures. Lap times are there, and then we've come here, we've managed to get him the first time he's ridden the bike that we've actually had rear grip that he's happy with, and he qualified 8th yesterday, but then he had an off, he's broken his foot, so he's declared unfit to ride today. So that's kind of where we are Fraser Rogers wise. Ben, riding his own Suzuki, he loves the bike, he's fast. I think where he is 12th, 13th, which is given the 11 or 12 in front of him is brilliant, absolutely. But in the official test here, he's broken his shoulder, so he's out for 6, 7, 8 weeks maybe. So that's kind of where we are at the moment.
Going forward then, you've got 6 weeks off to think about how we put a plan together. How are you going to do that? Really,
I think we're going to do some testing, and we're going to we think last night with the rebuild of this, we've actually solved the electric gremlin, which was the reason why we found it was I just had a quick look at his data yesterday to try and find this problem, and we noticed that his throttle was only 95%, and I'm thinking there's no way on earth he's riding this on 95% throttle, that doesn't make sense. So I wiped and recalibrated the throttle, and as soon as I did, all the gremlins seemed to go. So really, would it be nice even if it had just done a lap today just to see if that were cured? But we're going to go away, regroup, rebuild this bike, get a spares package back up to where it should be again, and hopefully, given his foot, I think the sensible thing to do is maybe a couple of track days, a couple of test days, and carry on really where we are. I think with it, I'm having to set this bike up so different to the 2 years I've done previously, because Fraser likes to turn the bike on the rear, so he rides it high at the front, low at the back, and turns on the rear, whereas previous riders, Chrissy, was all about the front and corner speed. So it's good because now we've gone both ways on the bike, and I think we're learning. And like I say, it was 1/10 off the front row on qualifying, and that's with no rider aid. So I'm confident if we get that sorted, he doesn't need his head sorting, he's totally just put fuel in it and let me go, so I think a couple of track days and hopefully we'll come back strong. Hopefully Ben's fit to ride and all sorted with his Suzuki and everything, and if that's the case we'll be back to strength, I think. But a little side project is Matty Whelan on the MV Augusta there. We've known each other a few years, and this is his first year in stock 600, so not that I've had a lot of time to help him, he's come along, and to be fair, these guys have helped me out more with all the rebuilding, but yeah, so there's plenty to be thinking about, really.
You mentioned Chrissy just then. Was you sad to see him go, for having seen the great results he put in last year? Nearly came close to a win as well at Silverstone. Yeah. So obviously it was difficult to see him go off to another team.
Honestly,
and no. Jordan as well.
And Jordan, yeah. Jordan, he's done an absolutely great job this year, and I'll be the first to admit, I didn't expect to see him where he is, so hats off to Jordan, absolutely doing a great job. Chris is exactly where you'd expect him to be. Honestly, no, I'm not sad to see him go, because if you look at his previous, and I'm a really good friend of Chris's, and I think a lot about him, and he does 2 years. He has a 2-year project, and we knew that at the beginning, and the first year, it was actually at this round in his first year we got his first top 10 with him, and that was the pinnacle for me of why we go racing. First year on a BM, first year on 1,000 for him, our first year with BMW, and yeah, that top 10 were brilliant. The following year, the second year with him, so last year, we spent a bit more money on the bike. We went for the titanium parts instead of the stainless steel. We went for the lightweight batteries. We bought some lightweight, but we spent a bit on the bike, and I knew that was going to be enough to see him on the podium. I knew it because we were there or thereabouts, and exactly that. I'm happy to see him move forwards. That's the idea. where Mission Racing is, we don't have any financial sponsors. So where Mission Racing is if I see a rider that's got potential and they like what I do and I like what they do, if we can help them progress and then send them through, that's what it's all about. What money would I need to go with them? So it'd be great. Don't get me wrong. If we could get that in place and move maybe to Superbikes with a rider, we would do that. But you've got to be realistic, haven't you? There's no point turning up doing it wrong. I'd rather turn up and try and do it right. So yeah.
If a big sponsor did come in though, say halfway through this year, would looking at Superbikes next year or maybe in 2020 even be a consideration?
100%. Yeah. We'd love to get there, but it's obviously the financial. The stock 1,000 is. I mean, look how busy the class is. It is. There's no such thing as cost-effective racing, is there? But like they say on the TV, you can buy a bike, you can put an exhaust, and you can go and race it. It ain't quite like that. You are still looking at, even with good deals, you're looking at over 20,000 to build one. But could I find a sponsor, find a team to buy their current bikes? So I'll be running such as a last year's bike and learn. And what I wouldn't want to do is turn up and embarrass either myself or any riders. I'd have to know we could do the job, but I believe that the couple of riders that have been through Mission Racing and the riders we've got currently, 100%.
But finally, as we come into this 6-week break, then after that, it all comes thick and fast for the rest of the year. Yeah. What do you expect from Fraser? Podiums, race wins, or is that a little bit too much to ask for, considering with the broken foot now as well?
If he has a full recovery, because obviously you might be aware Fraser got offered a world superstock ride, a European superstock ride, and he did a great job there, and I was proud to see him do that, and I think he might get offered some more. Possibly the Donington UK round would make sense, but that gives him like sort of 2 weekends of recovery before he would be riding again. So let's just say he has a full recovery and there's no injury there, then I don't think I'm talking out of turn if I say podiums. Yeah, a race win would be fantastic, but like we say, the depth of field this year is unbelievable. He's definitely capable, 100%. Fraser got on this bike the first time, and I've never known anybody just get on a bike they've never ridden and not familiar with and be that fast out of the box. So 100%. I think, But you need everything. You need all the stars to align, don't you? It only takes one slight chink in the armour and forget about it, your weekend's over. So, but you might see us on a podium this year, yeah.
Russ, thanks for joining us.
No worries. Cheers, Kiko. Thank you.
Yeah, had a interesting first few rounds already this year, Ross Owen of Mission Racing, and you got a feel for him, really. Bit of bad luck.
One thing after the other, isn't it? That is just... give up and go home.
Yeah. When we spoke to him, I think it was the Monday, the bank holiday Monday of May Day, which...
Oh, I must admit as well, I sounded bad in that because I was suffering chronically with the bad throat. Like, if you're wondering why I was like, all the way through, it's not because I was doing a line or anything. I was genuinely very, very ill that weekend. Awful. I couldn't even eat black pudding. That's how bad it was. Anyway.
So yeah, Ross Owen there talking to Kiko, and if you were at all concerned about the state of Kiko's voice, if you thought it might have been not his usual amazing pitch, if you thought that maybe he wasn't up to his best performance, then let us know what you thought. Get in touch with us here at Motorsport Radio. Let us know how outraged you were about that interview.
Oh, we got into LBC, mate. On the way back from school, fam. Are we going to do a Clive Bull impression, are we?
Nobody knows what you're talking about.
Right. Well,
anyway, so yeah, Ross Owen, I suppose we're not going to dwell on his he seemed in good spirits anyway.
He did, considering everything that's gone on. Dear, oh dear. It's because I had a pint of beer in Moretti the night before. That's what it is. Good evening, Russ. Did
that have anything to do with you sounding rough the next day?
No, because I couldn't even drink. I couldn't swallow.
Right, because drinking beer and feeling rough the next day.
I had 1 pint. I couldn't even eat food. I couldn't eat my fish.
Right. Anyway, so
you know how ill I was. Yeah. I was not good company all weekend.
Pain in the arse he was. All weekend.
Not like I'm ever like that anyway.
But anyway, yeah, so Ross Owen, no idea. We've not caught up with him. Have we? Have you spoke to him since then? What's going on? Is he scheduled? Is he going to turn up for Snetterton next time?
I would assume so. I don't think he'd pull out like that.
Yeah, well, if he's got no riders.
Depends if he's got riders. This is the thing.
Would someone want to jump on for just one race, though?
Absolutely, yeah. I think they would if the circumstances were right and everything was in order.
There is one particular. There is one rider anyway who was. We mentioned earlier on in the show who could be looking for a ride. Who knows? We'll just have to update you with that in future Superbike shows.
Yes, and also before we go, I asked a question earlier about the Suzuki and the last time they had 4 consecutive podiums.
Oh, yes.
We had some comments flood in. 2000, Kenny Roberts was one of them. I think we had someone say Hopkins in 2007. Don't want to swear to that. Might not have been on the actual feed. Might have been on the comments in a group. We'll just check now.
Kiko's checking for comments.
Yeah. We had a couple said Kenny Roberts. The correct answer was, and no one said it, 1994. Kevin Schwantz, 4 second places, I think he got. So 24 years ago. That's the last time Suzuki had 4 consecutive podiums. I think that applies outside of it. No, I don't think it does. That is a stat. It's hard to believe.
Are you sure?
4 consecutive podiums.
Okay. I might check.
And also, I think we I mentioned on Twitter yesterday, and this is a little teaser. We will announce this later on when we have permission, but a team from the National Superstock 1000 Championship are going to the Magny Core round of the FIM Superstock 1000 class. Now, we can't say who they are, because they're obviously wanting to keep anonymous. But
so it's one of the regular teams who regularly comment on this show? That's
no.
like 2.
No.
Oh,
no.
really? Okay.
No.
Okay.
You're all wrong. Or one of you.
See. We will see then.
Are we done?
Whoa, I'm so sorry. Are we done, said the audience. No, not the audience, the presenter. Are we done? Unbelievable.
Will Howarth, the 96, starts the final lap of this race. It's very close for second place.
Tell you who is done, though.
There's contact down at
Ryan
turn
Grant.
1 as they just hit each other. Unfortunately, Ryan Grant went down.
How the hell did they avoid him? Unbelievable. Unbelievable, Jeff, how they avoided that. We saw earlier in the sidecars that they didn't avoid the old sidecar rider, and that was unfortunate. And so Kiko and Damar were commentating because they're commentators on the latest round of the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship, a lot of whom make up the British Talent Cup grid, which is going to be racing this weekend. Good luck to everybody there. I'll be watching and listening. And you may also see, perhaps, maybe not this year, but certainly, definitely in future years, some other riders who also feature quite heavily at the top of various categories in the Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship. And last year, Kiko Giles made a bit of a viral clip.
I know what's coming. Oh, you're going to play it, aren't you?
He made a bit of on his commentary debut. He'd never commentated before. Amazingly, I know. But yeah, last year he cursed a particular rider. He said, this is definitely, this is so close, it's going down to the last lap bar in Hexagon. Boom. On the floor. And, I think he did the same thing again. I can't quite remember. Let's...
Bailey Stewart Campbell leads, but Evan Belford has come from the back of this grid, and he is already in the top 10. Bailey Stewart Campbell has lost the front at turn 4. Easily done. The leader has crashed out of the race. Casey O'Gorman is released at the front. Another commentator's curse. What do I have to do?
Unbelievable. Well done, Kiko.
Who's this mug here?
Kiko will be in action once again in a few weeks, commentating on the old Cool Fab Racing British Mini Bikes Championship.
Thank you. Just had that bit on there.
And so that's really it, because we've talked about everything. Yes, I know it's just as much a pleasure presenting this show as it is for you listening to it. Yes. Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. It has been fantastic to
many thousands of you as well, of course. That by the end of the week will have seen this.
Exactly. Yes. My old clicking finger is going to get right into action, pressing play. doing all that. It's not really. But yeah, thank you. And by the way, if this is your first ever experience of the Superbike show, it's not usually this bad, I promise. Sort of is. But yeah.
Producer slates his own show.
And thank you for tuning in all over the world. We know we have loads of people tuning in all over from Malaysia and Indonesia, India, America, Australia.
You got a fan club out there.
Yeah, well, we do spam it to many, promote the show to many thousands of people all over the world. So thank you to everybody who has tuned in. Final words, Kiko?
I've got the weekend to come here. Donington Park's going to be alive and kicking. Bradley Ray, Leon Haslam, Luke Mossey, Mason Law, Gino Ria, Ryan Vickers, Nico Canepa. How many more? What a weekend we've got in store. Donington Park, £45 entrance fees on the Sunday. Get yourself down there, especially to watch some young talent. Bradley Ray in the Superbikes, Ryan Vickers in Supersport. We could see something very, very special.
Thank you very much. And join us again on the next Superbike show on Motorsport Radio.
Motorsport Radio. The Superbike Show on Motorsport Radio.